We're going to start off with consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes regular session minutes of May 9th, 2013, safety minutes of May 9th, 2013, acceptance of warrants number 47V13 and number 46P13.
So moved.
I second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Hi, Cole.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi, Cole.
It's a busy time at the school.
Yes, it's very busy. The seniors are just wrapping up their last couple of weeks. I think we only have like 4 or 5 more days until we start getting into finals for seniors. So, and then after that is the senior celebration, and we get to go on our senior trip, and then we graduate. So we only have about a week or 2 left.
You're saying it so calmly.
I'm excited, but it's a little sad. We just had our concert last night.
Yeah, that's excellent.
And it was really fun, but I realized that that was my last concert at GMHS. So we also had our film and art festival, and that was really, really fun. It was really amazing seeing all the artwork around the school, and it's still up, and it's probably going to be still up for a while too. So if you missed that, you could probably walk around the school.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, it's very amazing, and the film festival was really cool. I liked all of the
funny.
videos. Yeah.
Some of the films made me laugh. Some of them made me think. Some of them made me cry. They were great. They were terrific.
Yeah, they're really cool.
And the special event tomorrow night,
Um,
the prom.
oh yes, oh my God, how did I forget that?
And the Grand March.
Yeah, so I think the Grand March is going to be at 5, and that's going to be at the high school, and then we have the prom at the Black Swan. So
Now, did they already call it for indoors, the Grand March, or do they wait until?
No, they wait. They don't do that until the wait.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I hope the weather's good.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I
It would
hope
be
so,
so
too.
nice.
I really hope so, because it was supposed to be somewhat nice this week and this weekend, but it's been changing. But I don't know, like, it was supposed to be pretty rainy today, and it was actually turned out to be
Yeah.
a pretty nice day in the
For
afternoon.
those of you who are new to the committee, what they do is with the Grand March is that the students who come to the prom, they get introduced and then they walk wherever if it's outside, they walk across where the steps are to go into the school. They're introduced. There's usually an archway. Parents can take pictures and then they kind of walk down, and then at the end everybody goes off to the prom. But it's just so neat to see the way everybody's dressed up, and it's just a nice tradition. I've never seen it anywhere but in Georgetown. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I hope the
Very
weather's
excited.
good.
Yeah.
How's sports going?
Sports are doing well. Teams are finishing up their seasons. I think boys lacrosse is going to the playoffs. I'm pretty sure it's girls
Softball.
Oh, girls
softball's
just
well.
softball and baseball. Yeah.
That's good.
So and yeah, that's really good. And we have a couple runners from track, including myself, who are going to be competing in states on Sunday.
Good for
Awesome.
you.
Wow.
Hey, good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Excellent.
After the prom.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a fun weekend.
Well, every day's a big day. Especially at the end of the year.
I did want to mention, I was at the middle high school concert last Wednesday, and it was great. It was, I really enjoyed it. It was, I don't know what, this year was just different for some reason. I just thought it was a great job. Mr. Messina did a good job. But when they mentioned the junior districts, which I know you had mentioned too, I just asked him, because he asked the kids to like stand up and say who went. So I just asked him to send me a list of the people, and I just wanted to say who those people are that went, the kids, because it was quite amazing how many kids from Georgetown went. So senior districts, he said Aiden Kelly, Cole, Martins, and Anne Marie Champa. And then it said that you went on so students who audition well at districts are nominated. So that was you and Anne Marie? The
Yeah,
ones I
and-
just mentioned? Okay. And then junior districts was Allison Arnold, Megan Nezak, Michael Kelly, Sydney Flanagan, Christina MacArthur, Ariana Natalie, is that Natoli?
Natoli.
Megan Brigham, Claudia Desmura, Christopher Pitcher, Nathan Willis, Zach Began, Charles Mullen, Katie Lowell, Nicole Reardon, and David Shane. Which I thought that was great.
That's a
all
lot
those
from
kids.
Georgetown.
It's really awesome.
So they deserve a big round of applause.
Now,
That's
you
great.
had to qualify for states, is that correct?
Yeah, we had to. It's a qualifying time. It's the same as Cal qualifying time. So this is the Eastern states for track, and then the top 4 runners in this go on to all states, and then they compete with all of Massachusetts, and then the top 2 runners of that go to New England. So it's
Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
That's great. Okay, thanks, Cole.
Yeah.
Anyone here from the public that would like to comment? No? Okay.
So we'll have Justin and the students come on up. This is Justin Lampomi. Come on up.
We've never done this.
Well, that's all right. Nothing, they don't bite. It's fun.
We're happy to have you.
So I gave you a little bit of information in your orange notes. On Monday, there was an event at the school, and it was planned in cooperation with the town police department and fire department. But one of the groups that was very, very involved in it was the Students Against Destructive Decisions, right? SAD. And Justin is their advisor. So I know I was so impressed with not only the quality of the program, but then the student questions, and I really felt like the students took it seriously. And so I thought it would be really good to have them come tonight and just talk to you a little bit about what it involved and maybe what they've heard in terms of the effect that it had. And I think it's just great for the community, school committee, but also the community to see that in our schools, clearly academics is very important and being successful academically, but it's also important to be the kind of students who have the opportunity to make a difference in their lives, in the lives of others, part of the culture and the community building. And this for me was a great example of that. So maybe if you just want to talk a little bit about, the event itself and what you think came out of it.
Yeah, there was a lot of planning that went into it. So we are the Students Against Destructive Decisions group, and what we do is we try to raise awareness just for students for alcohol, drug use, just so they know the effects and the consequences. And with prom coming up, we thought that would be a perfect opportunity to have a demonstration and really bring the whole school together. And I know it hadn't been done in Georgetown for a number of years, and so we thought it would be really effective. And we had a lot of help from the local police and fire departments, and everyone was very supportive. And like you said, during the presentation, all the students seemed really engaged, and we had a guest speaker afterwards who was incarcerated at the Middleton jail. And so he shared his story, and the students got to ask him questions, and then the police came up and they had another question and answer section. So I think it was really powerful and effective, and Isabel
Yeah.
was there with us as well. She's a member of SAD.
Yeah, after talking to some of my peers and such, they said that was impactful because they could kind of relate, because they were students that they went to school with that were involved in the mock car crash, and they just were hit by the fact that it could just happen to anyone, and you're not invincible.
It was very real. And I think that's the pivotal point, is that it was very real. And at first people were kind of joking, but everyone was very serious throughout the entire thing. And I was very taken aback about it was very powerful. I that was really a really good good thing that you guys did.
Yeah, I saw the cars when I pulled in, later on that day. I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, I sort of thought afterwards that the poor people that lived in the neighborhood must have been like, what is going on? Because I think every emergency vehicle in Georgetown responded to the
Including
scene.
Conti's funeral.
Including the
Yes, 'cause
Conti
I was there.
funeral
I
home,
saw it.
came with their
It was
hearse.
Very, very powerful. The actors did a phenomenal job. I mean, they really put themselves into it, and I think hit home the message that, nobody sets out to get into one of these situations or accidents, but it can still happen, especially with poor decisions around alcohol or any kind of, mind-altering chemicals, and it just, it can be, the results will last your whole life.
And
So
was
just
it
make
the
good decisions
entire-
so we can have good times.
Was it the entire high school?
No, just
It's just the
juniors and
upperclassmen?
seniors.
Okay.
Because those would be the ones who were mostly going to the prom, and we felt like they were old enough to handle that.
Right.
And so it was just those two. Usually we do a guest speaker every year. SAD hires one, but we just wanted to mix it up this year and do something a little different.
I can't thank you enough for that. That program that you did is goes right to the very top of my list. Thank you. Just curious, was there any discussion while you folks were going through it for what you do when you're faced with a situation, how to get out of? In other words, you might be getting into a car with someone who is drinking, and when that happens, what do you do? Was there any kind of discussions about that in the program?
During the question and answer session with, I know Officer Rodden was up there, and then Officer Cudmore, they were both up there. And during that session, they talked mostly about how to not put yourself in that situation. So it was a lot of just think about what you're doing before it happens. Don't get in a car with someone who is intoxicated. It was just more trying to avoid those situations. So that happened, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, the
That's
questions
great.
were,
Thank you.
the questions, initially, the
Yeah.
kids didn't feel comfortable. But then a few adults asked a couple of questions, and then the students started, and one or two, and then another adult maybe, and then, you know, but it was, the questions like, what were your goals in life before you ended up going to jail? What did you want to be? And this gentleman explained that he was good at drawing, and he really wanted to go to art school. And so now I think he's going to be a barber, I think was what he wanted to do, and he has plans. But, you know, the kids just really listened to the story. And what was it like to be in jail as an 18-year-old? What kinds of experiences do you have? I mean, just really stuff that I think got at the heart of the matter, you know. And what's your plan now? And after the session, I was down the front where the gentleman was, and many of the kids came and shook his hand and said, "Thank you for telling your story. You know, it's really important, you know, for people to hear that. And good luck to you, man." You know, so it was real. I was very impressed, as I said, with the students.
The speaker did a great job.
Yeah. Could you tell them just a little bit about SAD and what other kinds of things that you do?
Sure. So also for the prom, we're going to be attaching little messages from the 6th grade and the middle school, which kind of send encouraging words of being safe and making smart decisions at prom, which we'll attach to flowers and put on the tables. And then also we will put up posters around the school to just put up statistics about like car crashes related to any unsmart decisions such as like texting or driving while intoxicated, and we just like to kind of raise awareness and just let people know that the choices they make now will affect them for like days to come.
Exactly. We had a seatbelt initiative in the fall where, as the seniors were leaving, if they're wearing the seatbelt, we gave them lollipops and candy just to kind of reward them for being safe and having safe decisions.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Excellent.
This time of year is
Excellent.
always so tough, like watching TV and just seeing, you know, things that can happen at this time of year. It's really,
And it does every
I
year,
know,
you know. and
I know.
It's very sad. It's around graduation and prom and.
so I'm glad it's here in Georgetown, so that's nice.
And I think it's just very brave because sometimes it's hard to be with your peers and stand up for this. It's like last year, one of our students spoke to both Peter and I about doing a program, the Pledge for Adam. Remember
Yeah.
that? And she did all the legwork and the groundwork on it, and actually got up in front of the student body, talked about how important it was, you know, to take a pledge to not text and drive, not drink and drive, and why it was important. And then actually this Adam's family came and did an assembly and was right there talking about the experiences with what happened with their child and what they went through. And, you know, but the fact is it came from the student who was brave enough to stand up and deliver a message to peers that's not always easy to deliver.
Wow.
You know, so, you know, we have a lot of courageous people, and these guys do this on their own. This isn't something that's part of their academic day. They choose to become part of this club.
And how many kids are in the club?
We have about 15
Yeah, about 15.
on a good day.
Yeah.
And is it middle school and high school, Justin, or just the high school?
Just the high school, yeah.
Well, thank you for taking it on as a faculty member, that's great.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming on short notice, because I think I literally talked to him on Monday. I asked Mr. Lucian, he'll come. So it was like literally not very much time, so thanks for doing that.
You're welcome. Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Hey, Justin, your bow tie?
Thank
Like that.
you. We're bringing it back.
I like
All right, thanks again.
All right. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Okay. Superintendent's report.
Yes, so I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about the turf project, but what I wanna do first is a little show and tell. This is Georgetown Opoly, which is a project that the PTA has been spearheading, and Lorene is probably the spearheader, who's been working on this project for at least a couple of years anyway, I think. And it's come to fruition. It's kind of like giving birth here, I think. But it's a really very cool. It's, inside is the game board, and the game board has, many of the streets in town. It has all the schools. It has the police station. It has businesses, and it's actually a Monopoly game, but using Georgetown as the theme. So, Lorene, if someone wanted to buy this, because you said you have about 200 to sell,
Yes.
if someone wanted to buy it, what would they do?
Contact me. There's flyers that will be around town in schools and backpacks.
Okay.
Just contact
And,
me.
and they can get your contact information from the website, under
Sure.
the school committee website?
Sure.
Okay, because,
And I do just wanna say, like, the people bought their streets, right? That's how it
Right.
all worked. Like, people paid a certain amount of money to have their street.
They did.
Showed-
Some
show up.
individuals did, and neighborhoods got
Neighborhoods.
together
That's really cool.
and pitched in, and businesses, and we have the utilities on there.
and it's got all the little cards and
Oh, and
all
it
of
said how
that.
much they pay. So
No.
that dollar amount is I don't.
That's how much you
in
get. There's,
Monopoly.
no, there's
never
money
did
in here.
Monopoly.
You get the.
Well, that's what
you
the-
get
that's
free
what-
I know, that's what
money.
it's worth.
It
That's-
sort of follows traditional Monopoly.
Monopoly. But I just want the public to know about this in case they missed the flyers, because this is something that's not just good for families and kids within the schools. This would be awesome for residents of Georgetown, lifetime residents of Georgetown, to have the opportunity to have something like this. So show and tell is always fun.
Came out great.
So, yes, thank you, Lorraine and PTA for doing all the work on that. So the turf project. In your packet, you received, there's a copy of the agenda that we just, the Synthetic Turf Advisory Committee agenda. These were the topics that were covered. And some of the things that came up were, now that the town, by a strong show of support, endorsed the installation of the turf field at the middle high school field. Now, of course, the real work comes, like what are the logistics that have to happen? And so a few things have sort of surfaced since the last time we talked about it at this table. And the first goes to who controls the project. Because it is a town project, it was obviously voted by the townspeople. But because it rests on school grounds, of which we are the custodians, the legal opinion from Kopelman and Page that I included in your packet, as you can see from reading it, clearly says that their strong belief is that the project needs to be overseen by the school committee because it is on school property. So, having said that, because there was some question about whether or not the STAC committee, as created by the Board of Selectmen, was the committee that would make final decisions on things. And then they would sort of operate as an independent entity, but then would be reporting to, for example, the Board of Selectmen. Well, that's not the case on how this has to go forward. The school committee, just like you, the building committee is a separate entity, but it reports to you. You don't make the final decisions, but it's still that kind of, you get all the information. So because the school committee has that responsibility, the question became, well, then what happens to the STAC committee? Do we need the STAC committee anymore? And if we need the STAC committee, what would the STAC committee do? And you can see there are 3 bullets that kind of go underneath that topic that, there's a possibility that the school committee could decide to have the STAC committee continue to operate, but operate in an advisory capacity to you. So they would continue to do legwork. They might continue to be working with the engineers on some of the logistics of the actual project, but they wouldn't make final decisions. They would come back before the school committee, and the school committee would make the final decisions. They would be advisory. There's the other process, and thanks to Joan, we were able to get some clarity around this as well. And I think Rob raised it at one point in terms of hiring the designer and what the process needed to be around that. After Joan contacted the Inspector General's office, because why not go to the person who can give you the right answer, right, rather than debate it back and forth. And because of the nature of the project, and because it is a project that requires us to follow the procedures in 30B, which is public bidding, there does need to be a process by which there's an RFP, which means we would put together a set of specifications in terms of the qualifications that we're interested in, and for the designer. And then there's also an option for them to put in a financial, a bid estimate, right?
It would be two envelopes. One would be the RFQ, which is based qualifications only. That envelope opens first. Committee goes through that and selects or comes up with a recommendation as to who to go with, and then you go to that person's envelope and open it, and if their price is within what you have suggested in your RFQ, they're the firm.
Right. So that, having said that, so the process that was kind of discussed at this STAC committee, and actually Rob was invited because of his expertise with this process, and has agreed to sort of help with this particular development of this document. So Joan, Rob, Sandy Garrity, who is the business manager for the Department of Public Works in Andover, who does work in this kind of arena often. So Sandy and Mike Farrell, I believe, are going to put together the bid for qualifications, which of course will come back to you for your final, blessing. The hope was initially, was that, we might be able to just hire the designer and then get the process going and then go through conservation and do the permitting and get the project going in the fall, because it's 20% less expensive. But I think what was resolved at this meeting with all of the information I'm sharing with you is there's no way that timeline can work.
Right.
So it took the pressure off of that. So now our goal, I think, is to have the RFQ process, the RFP process, everything designed to come back to the school committee in late August for review. And then we would get things out to bid, collect the information, award the bid, and then, hopefully be working on this project in the spring as opposed to the fall. We'll require Chris to do a little creative planning because the spring is very busy with our sports program. But, we want to get the process going. We want the process to make sense and for it to be done correctly. And not only procedurally, but just the end product being what we're all hoping to have from this. So one question is, is the committee interested in having the STAC committee continue to exist? Because it is a committee that represents sort of all of the interested parties in town related to this field. And if so, we just need to let them know that, and then we need to kind of give them a sense of what you'd like them to do, so that they know they have a purpose, because nobody wants to spend time if there's not going to really be a purpose. So that's the context, and we can certainly open it up for discussion at this point and thoughts from the committee.
I'd like to just jump in and say, my recommendation is going to be the same, is going to be to allow STAC to continue to be the advisory board in that regard and follow through with this and then report to us. And the reason being is they have years of history right now with the project. They know more about it than anyone, and quite frankly, they deserve it.
Yeah, and they love it. I mean, they're like passionate about
Yeah.
it. It is.
Yeah,
Complete privilege.
it's been, so I just wanted to say that, and, yeah. Oh, the other thing I want to say about that is, though there's a lot to it, and if you want to be informed, you're gonna want to go to some of these meetings, because that's the only way you're gonna really truly understand it. It will be very difficult. STAC will do, I'm sure, their best to present the information to everybody, but it will be very hard to present it all, so.
When you say present the information, do you mean the RFP information?
What I'm understanding, the way this is potentially going to go, if the board agrees with that, is that STAC would sort of continue with this process of putting together this RFP, RFQ. They would, it would go out, the information would come in, they would review it. There'll be a list of criteria that they go through in terms of how you vote, so it's not a subjective process. It's really as objective as you can get. And then they summarize all that, and then they'll bring that to you. And they'll say, here's what we've found, here's our ranking, here's the firm.
Right, and then you have to make the final approval of the designer.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the RFP criteria is probably gonna be the most critical piece of the process.
Mhm.
And you want someone that's pretty skillful, I think, to fill that out.
Yeah, and that's why
Yeah.
Sandy and Mike and Joan and Rob are gonna
Right.
work on that process.
Right.
I think I think the RFQ actually is, if I was gonna put a vote on it, that would get my vote as the number one piece. Because the
RFQ is what?
qualifications, the qualifications
Qualifications.
package,
Yeah.
that is basically you are selecting the best firm regardless of price. And then you go to the price. And what happens a lot of time is price will trump qualifications in the process if you go RFP first.
Right.
Well, and this isn't subject to low bidder. So that's the other thing, when you have to do low bidder, sometimes you don't
Yeah.
get the person that you really want. So that, the nice thing is that's not driving this process.
So in a way, that's good. Usually, the RFQ process is part of the RFP process. It's just a different section in it. I guess it's all the way you do it.
And that will be the case here too, but
That's
what Rob
exactly
is saying is that instead of opening the bid for the money first, and then making sure the person's qualified, you're gonna look at the qualifications first, and then you'll open the money.
After you select.
After you select.
And
So
develop
the
the
money
order.
doesn't drive that decision, it's the
Right.
qualifications of the person. And is there room in that process, Rob, to negotiate,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, so that
There's
someone
always-
can,
You can
someone can
negotiate the price.
negotiate that, right?
Depending on how the RFP portion is
Craft,
crafted,
Yeah.
you always can insert that, yep.
okay.
But, so all of that decision-making and discussion will be taking place, and without you being there to be part and listen to it, it will be very hard to convey that information to you. You're sort of gonna be getting a summary. So I just, if you want more, you're gonna have to
Yeah.
go to these.
And how are we going to know when these meetings are scheduled for? Are
We
they,
can-
they're all openly
Yeah,
posted?
they're public meetings, so
Yeah,
we
public
can,
meetings.
I'll let the school committee know.
Oh, good,
When-
okay, great, well in advance.
And Barbie does
Yeah,
the
okay.
minutes, which all, can show up just like all the other minutes are.
Okay, great.
Does anybody else have any questions about it?
Rob said it all for me.
Okay.
Okay.
You need a motion?
So we need a motion, yeah.
Okay, the chair will make a motion to approve the continuation of the Synthetic Turf Advisory Committee as an advisory committee to the school committee regarding the synthetic turf project at the middle high school.
So moved?
Second?
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Well, the staff committee will be very happy, thank you.
Well, that's good. They'll be happy.
They'll be
working.
very happy.
So now it's when it all comes, now it's when it all
Yeah,
comes.
yeah, they're willing to do anything they have to
Yeah.
do.
That makes complete sense. Thank you for doing that too,
My
Rob,
pleasure.
for being on that.
And then just the other final thing that I just wanted, I noticed, I included in your packet, I didn't realize that this kind of thing was being done, but, and there's actually one more that I want to add. But I received some information about this Reward for Orgs project. And so we have the Scala Antiques and Design Company. So if people go and spend money there in town, then 2% of that purchase will automatically come to the public schools. So thank you to Lisa Scala Antiques and Designs. Also, Little Block of Shops.
Awesome.
1% of of every purchase would come to the schools. And then the pool guy, getting to be summer, I'm sure people are buying their pool supplies, so that'll be helpful. And then finally, the one I just got today is the International Martial Arts Incorporated on West Main Street. So they're donating 1% of it. So think
That
that's,
is
again,
wonderful.
another example of the generosity of these businesses in this community. So
Community
I
support.
wanted to make sure that I recognized it publicly.
Yes, thank you. It's amazing how many
Yeah.
people come out to the schools.
Yeah, every meeting, I think there's been some
Right.
type of donation. It's really awesome.
Yeah, that is great. So I hope
We live in a
these
great community.
businesses get a lot of business.
I hope so too.
Thank you. Okay, school reports. We're gonna talk about the middle school handbook.
You guys can
Oh,
both come
Brian.
up if you want. Brian, come on up. Peter, you're gonna hang here too, probably. Chris, you can come up too, so I'll talk about handbooks, so come on up.
Do you have this guy? HDM. You have that too?
I sent the scout over this afternoon to make sure.
Are you gonna
Are
be
this handbooks or
projecting-
SIPs? This is for
Wait,
the
this is
SIP.
handbooks.
This is
So we'll do
handbooks?
handbooks
Okay.
first.
Yeah, that one.
Yep. Yeah, the middle school is very short, and Peter has a few more changes. And then behind that is, the middle high school athletic handbook. Okay. Do you wanna start with the middle school? Ryan, middle school handbook.
Middle school handbook, they were,
Not yet, that's his improvement plan.
they were,
No, not yet.
no, that's school
That's-
improvement plan.
Okay, so you don't
We're just
need that
talking
for
about-
this one,
No,
right?
we're
Right.
just gonna talk about the handbooks.
Basically, the middle school handbook, there was one little removal that I had on there, and I don't have the number in front of me.
Page two. it
Yeah,
says.
page two,
Page
just
two.
remove high school.
That was it. And then, thank you to Barbie Lenaris for emailing me at the beginning of the week. There was 2 oversights. We had 3 people review the handbook before we submitted changes, and somehow we missed, in a paragraph, it had Mrs. Iannabelli's name in it. So I switched it back to my name. Barbie brought that to my attention. That was on page 7.
Page 6.
Was it page 6 or 7? I had 7.
Page 6.
Okay.
Well, let's make sure it's not still there.
Yeah.
It's not, so.
It's not in the new one. You
Right, so I,
emailed us.
Yeah, it is
I never
here.
do this, but I
No, but
emailed
he
the
emailed it
entire
tonight.
school committee
Oh, okay.
with the changes, so you have them on your email.
Yeah.
On the 2 pages with the updated changes.
Okay.
And the only other one was Mr. Lucia's name was on the sexual harassment coordinator, so I changed it to my name
Okay.
under Title IX. Those were the only 2 for, but thank you, Barbie.
Sure.
Need a job?
Maybe.
Proofreader?
My husband would say yes. Not while you're on the committee.
Okay, Peter, do you wanna do the high school?
Okay, I
Oh, I'm
just
sorry,
had
have a question?
one little suggestion under bullying policy. On page 26, you cross-referenced school committee policies. And I just noted one more policy that maybe should be there, which would be JICFB on bullying prevention. It is a policy and it does relate to this policy. I think that's the purpose here, is to reference school committee policies that relate to this policy.
So is it
Okay,
in
so
here
where-
now that it's referring to a policy or no?
Oh, way
Well,
up
see,
there.
I mean, it cross-references.
Oh, up here.
cross-reference.
Okay,
okay.
So
Okay,
I'm
you
just
wanna add-
So you wanna have that
add
added?
one
that
for
one added.
bullying prevention that
Okay.
we have.
Okay, that makes sense.
JICFB?
Yes.
Prevention, okay. Great. Okay. So Barbie, would you like to, vote
Individually?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah, that's how we've got it in the notes, but you can listen to all of them and then vote individually if you want, it's up to you.
Yeah, let's listen to all of them,
Okay.
if everybody's okay with that.
Sure.
Okay. There are very few handbook changes in the high school. Under student use of electronic devices, on page 14, we want to add the use of electronic devices are expressly prohibited in the locker rooms at all times. Under that policy, under the second offense, student item will be confiscated and returned to the student at the end of the day by the teacher. And under the fourth offense, item will be confiscated and returned to parent only. Under school safety, we just wanted to put some language, wanted to actually put our protocol in that during the school day, all of the doors are locked and you can only use the main entrance. And we also want to say in the handbook that the school is monitored by cameras inside and out. There are signs on the doors, but we wanted to put in the handbook also. And that's it for the student-parent handbook.
Now, what happens when they do go outside, like if one of those doors is open on a school day? Does anything go off, like an alarm go off, or?
I don't think we should discuss that.
Okay.
Top secrets.
Top secret stuff. Maybe not. We can talk later.
Well, it used to be that side door was open.
Which
like,
side door
during-
were you referring to,
like,
the cab?
by closer to the middle school, right?
Yes.
That, and people used to kind of go in and out, and we've changed that now, and everybody, and that was painful for a lot of people who were really used to going in that door, particularly at the
Really?
beginning of the day. But I think everybody's kind of adjusted to it now, and it really is for safety.
Yeah, oh, I agree.
School security.
I agree.
Okay, so you want to do the athletic handbook too?
Sure.
Okay. There are a lot of kind of language changes in here, a lot of stuff that we've talked about with the committee before when we were talking about what we're gonna offer, what the user fee structure is, and stuff like that. So, I mean, I can go through every one of these if you wish, or I can just kind of summarize some of the more interesting ones.
Yeah, I think a summary is fine.
Okay.
I'm sure everybody on the committee went through these.
Under, I think the one that we struggled with the most is the process that we use for handbook changes, all of the steps that happen before it comes to you, is it starts in a subcommittee of the school council. And then they make some recommendations to the school council, and then the school council wrestles with it, and then they take a vote of endorsement. Of course, they're advisory to me, and they take a vote of endorsement or not to endorse, and then I make a decision what I'm going to submit to the superintendent. I very rarely go against what the school council says, and I haven't here either, but I just wanted to share that process with you to give you a better understanding of how difficult it was to come up with the proper language to express the spirit of what we were trying to do at the top of the second page with regard to the vacation policy and missing school. We have a policy, like most high schools, that if you're not in school on Friday, you can't play on Saturday or on the weekend. And Chris's committee thought that was a little extreme when it carries across a vacation. So we were trying to get some language to protect the integrity of that weekend policy, but not hurt kids all vacation long, because of course, you know, they could recover by then and be ready to play. So the best way we could think about wording that is the following. If a student is absent, unexcused, the day before vacation, he or she will be ineligible, wait a minute,
Yeah.
Where are you, Peter?
Unexcused.
He's
at
on-
top
he's
of the
top.
second page.
It's page 9.
Oh, unexcused,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. She will be ineligible for the entire vacation. So if you're unexcused, you can't play. If a student is excused by a reason listed in the handbook, they are eligible starting on the Monday of vacation, pending review by the Dean of Students. Weekend policy remains the same. If a student misses a Friday, they are ineligible on Saturday. So we wanted to maintain that weekend policy, but not have it carry across the entire vacation, and we think that this proposal does that.
Does that take into account if a student, let's say, wasn't feeling well for some particular reason and calls in and that goes on record, but then, you know, it's a 24-hour kind of thing and they're fine Saturday?
That we don't normally allow them to play, no. And there's a safety issue there, because if you're not practicing the day before a game, you probably shouldn't be playing in a game.
I think where this gets tricky, a little tricky, is when a family, goes on vacation. So they go on vacation Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they're going on vacation on Monday. Going on vacation with your family is not considered an excused
Excused, right.
absence.
Right.
So it means that they wouldn't be eligible to play for the remainder of the week.
Right.
There are team rules there too.
Right.
If you go on vacation, there are, we ask that our athletes make commitments for the entire season. If they go on vacation during that time, then there are individual team policies that kick in there.
Were there any other things, Peter, that you want to focus on here?
Chris, want to say a quick word about the concussion?
Sure. So, when we started going over the new concussion laws, one of the things that we implemented was a baseline test. The one we use is called Student Assessment of Concussion, or SAC. And basically, we piloted it this year, and we didn't really find it very useful, unfortunately, because we didn't have a consistent trainer this year on staff. So if a student sustained a concussion or a suspected concussion, we ended up sending them to their doctor to be cleared, and they didn't use the data that we collected. So we really think that it's better for the student, once there's a suspected concussion, to just go to the doctor and to be, kind of cleared within those steps. Unless our new, we are actively trying to hire a new training company. If they provide an option that is better than what we have in the handbook, that's fine. But the assessment that we did, we didn't think was very effective in the return to play, because they ended up just getting cleared by their doctor anyway.
The assessment that we did was a baseline.
We did a baseline
And
test.
then the doctors didn't want to use our
They didn't.
baseline?
Very rarely did they use it, because we're administering it, they're not, so it doesn't
Right,
really.
so they don't.
Oh, so they don't,
Yeah.
I understand, okay.
And that is consistent with MIAA
Yes.
recommendations.
So I know there are schools in the Cape Ann League that do not use any sort of baseline testing, and they rely on either their training staff or the doctors to clear the players, which is consistent with the law.
Are there standards that the contact sports, football, lacrosse, the headgear have to meet?
Absolutely, yeah. They are recertified every year on the football helmets.
Where do those come from?
The company,
No. Where do the standards come from?
it's an acronym. It's NOCSE, I think. I don't even know the exact.
It's some.
Is it a national organization?
It's a national organization,
Yeah.
yes.
Good.
Okay. And the other one I wanted to bring to your attention is we wanted to sync our, all of the coaches, how they communicate with their players. We wanted to sync that with school committee policy. So we wrote some language in there so it would be consistent with the school committee's policy on social media, and that is IJNDD.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one. Boy, try finding that. It's under
Under instruction. It is in
instructional
a funny
supplies or
place.
something.
Yeah, it is in a funny place.
And that's kind of sums it up.
Does anyone have any questions for Peter on it?
The only thing I would mention
Yep.
is, and I noticed this last year, but I couldn't really look at it in this package, is the travel form. Last year, the one that was attached to the packet that went home was different than the online version. So I would just ask you to take a peek at it and make sure it's
Make sure they're consistent. Yeah, we did end up changing it once. We had
And you may
Triple E
have
last
done it
year.
already.
Yeah, but we did change the form of Triple E because it got a little bit more needed to get to certain places. So I remember we did tighten the language up, so maybe it didn't transfer to the online.
So could you make that,
I'll make
you'll
sure
make
that,
that
yeah,
connection? Okay,
absolutely.
great.
Okay, I think we're ready to.
Now
vote
you
on
want to
it.
vote on
Okay.
each one of them.
All right, but I can make one motion, right?
You
Can I make one
can, I think.
You're the chair.
You can. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the changes to the middle school handbook as presented by Principal Brian Gill, as well as approving, right?
Go
The
ahead.
changes to the high school handbook as presented by Principal Peter Lucia, and to approve the changes to the athletic handbook as presented by Athletic Director Chris DeFranco, as well as Principal Peter Lucia.
So moved?
Second?
All in favor, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Okay,
you're all
thank
set.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
So
Chris, thank you for coming.
which SIP would you like to do first?
How about yours?
9? Okay. Okay, obviously you have the whole thing in front of you. It has a summary of the accomplishments from the previous year, an executive summary, a lot of data. What I am going to provide for you tonight are just the goals, and talk to you briefly about the goals and the rationale behind them and the key action steps. So our first goal, and this will be year one of a 2-year goal, is to adopt and implement an advisory program for the high school by September 2014. This is driven by our accrediting association. That's the Committee for Public Secondary Schools, which is a subcommittee, a branch of NEASC. And they have language in one of their standards that require all member schools develop a formal ongoing program through which each student has an adult in the school, in addition to the school counselor, who knows the student well and assists the student in achieving the school's 21st century learning expectations. This language has been in their standards and was in there when they came. However, the word that they added was formal, to develop a formal ongoing program. We feel that we have met the spirit of this all along. We have a very small school. We don't think kids slip through the cracks, and we have certain safety nets for them, but they are informal. So they are requiring by January of 2014 to propose to them, well, I shouldn't say, inform them of the formal program that we're going to adopt. So we've already began to form a committee. We're already researching best practices, and we hope to adopt and approve a program by January of 2014. And depending upon the type of the program, it may call for a major reconstruction of the schedule of the school, the daily schedule. So we may, for example, we may have to create an advisory period. And schools do it in different ways. Some do it once per cycle. We currently have a 7-day cycle. We could do something like that. Schools that have 4x4 blocks have a period that's built in that they meet as an advisee several times a cycle. So we're gonna look at the best practices of schools out there and see which one fits best with Georgetown, and have that whole thing put into place by the start of school in 2014.
And you're gonna do your self-study in 2015, right?
Yes.
Yes, so people that I know recently that have gone through accreditation say if you do not have an advisory program, forget it. You'll definitely get a finding on it, that this has become like what's driving a lot of their, for some reason, it used to be mission and expectations were the one, and then the 4 core, at the top. And those are still really important, but for some reason, this, because I think it gets at the culture,
It's the importance of connection
Yeah.
between students
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
staff and teachers and relationships, really giving it a formal
Yeah.
way
So
to
this is
occur.
really an important goal, and I think it's great that
And there may be a curriculum that we adopt for
Right.
it.
some schools
I
write
think it's
curriculum.
great. I
They
think it's
they write the
wonderful.
curriculum.
I could have used this.
I mean, I know it's,
Yeah, I definitely could have too.
I think all of us have people that we remember back from our
Yeah.
school years that had a special influence on us.
Yeah.
And I hope that everybody in my high school had that special
Yeah.
person.
And
I
this
don't
goes
know that they
beyond
did.
the
I
school
don't know
day,
that
because
necessarily-
one of the reasons why we felt that we were good in this area is because if you look at the percentage of kids that are involved in athletics and music, almost all of our students. So those are connections with those advisors and coaches that already exist.
Right.
So we actually, we do an exercise, we call it the star chart, where we put up all of the names of the kids in the school, in the high school, in the teacher's room, during a particular time early in the year, around September, October, and the teachers go and they put stars on kids' names who they feel they know pretty well. And the standard that we use is, you know this person well enough, you could write them a recommendation if they asked you. And then we look at the chart and see if there's any kids that don't have any stars or that only have a few, and then we intervene with our guidance staff and administrative staff, and we make connections where it's necessary. And NEAS liked that the last time around. But again, it's not formal, so we'll give them a formal one.
But it's still a
And that's
process that's
great,
good to
yeah.
keep, it's just that you
Yeah.
gotta do something a little bit more too.
And then, does that person ever just offer to write a recommendation for the student? Like, you know, then the student's gonna apply to college and they're gonna need somebody to write a recommendation. How would the student know that that person who says that they know them well enough to write a recommendation, you know, how would they make that?
Students ask.
Right, but is the student gonna know to ask the right person? The person that really knows
Yeah,
them
the
and
person
would
that
be
put the
able to.
star next
Yeah,
to
the
that
person that put a
child's
star
name.
next to that child's name.
Well, the student has that relationship with that person, so they know that they have that.
So you think it would occur to the student?
The student
Yeah,
as well.
but it's kind of we just use that as a standard, and it's not the way the recommendation process works, though.
I'm sorry, I'm just curious since
Yeah.
I have a child who's coming up
Yeah.
to that time.
She
who's
wants to
going
make
be
sure he gets a
junior.
star.
Well,
Yeah, well,
I'm just
Or she
wondering
knows who
how
starred
it
him.
all works, because that person that you know very well might be in a class that you're not doing so well in, and then there's another class that you're getting A's in, but maybe the teacher doesn't know you that well.
it's not all about A's, because teachers write recommendations for students that are hard workers.
Right, it's the effort.
Yeah.
The effort, right.
I think that's great that you've been doing it like that, you know, but to make it formal would be great. But I didn't know that you guys did that you put everybody's names. That's, in such a small school, like so many kids, it's nice to know that teachers do feel like they know kids that well, that they would write a recommendation. It makes you feel good,
It does,
you know.
it does,
It's one of the
The more you
benefits of
learn.
having a small school.
I agree.
yes.
Speaking of missions and things like that, another goal is to develop and adopt a new statement of core values and beliefs in corresponding 21st century learning expectations with supporting analytic rubrics by June of 2014. So we have to, they don't call a mission statement anymore, they call it a statement of core values and beliefs. So and it's based on 21st century learning. So we've actually been working on this all year long. And we have a core values and beliefs committee. Frank Goldberg is the chair. It's made up of teachers, students, and parents, and a community member. And they've been working very hard. They've been writing multiple drafts. We thought we were at the end of the process. We had what we thought was a really good, we do believe, and we haven't changed our core values and beliefs, so it's a statement. It says Georgetown High School believes, and we have some belief statements, and Georgetown High School values. And then you have to write student expectations for learning that correspond to those. And that's where we were having the trouble, because all of those expectations, you have to measure them with an analytic rubric. So right before, and this happened, I think, last week, Julie? Last week, when we were going to start with writing the rubrics, we wanted to speak with our NEASC liaison about the process, and he brought some good things up to us. And when he looked at for example, our first expectation, it required about 5 rubrics the way it was written, because we said something like, it went something to the effect that students will express themselves and creatively through technology and some other things, through critical thought. Well, every statement like technology, critical, you had to measure that separately. So he gave us some really good advice, and we're rewriting these to be more general, but to sync very closely with the Common Core standards. So this thing can be used in many, many ways, and that's really what it's supposed to be. This whole statement is supposed to drive the school. And when they come and they look at us, everything connects to this. And we have to report out on the progress students are making towards these expectations. And when we're done with this, we will be able to use that data not only to report to NEASC, but to measure student growth. So we'll be able to use that in our new teacher evaluation process. And really, that's what we're all about, trying to continue to have students grow. And this will be a good measuring stick. So we're being very, very meticulous about this. We want it right because it is really the core of our school. Yes?
Being the core of the school, matching up with the core requirements, is that a limiting factor to? I'm struggling with how to explain it.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. No, I don't think so, because it's the Common Core. That's only part of it, because within these expectations, there are academic expectations, social and civic. So the academic ones are going to sync with the Common Core. The Common Core does not relate to the civic and the social expectations.
But your concern was that those would be lost by.
That they would
yeah.
get lost.
That's-
And also, it's my lack of fully understanding it, I think, to the level that you all do. So I don't mean to offend the core standards. Are they reaching enough? Are they?
The Common Core?
Yeah. Is everybody happy with how much they're pushing students?
I think our curriculum goes beyond that.
Okay.
So the mission will the mission won't limit us. The way it's written won't limit us to the Common Core, but it'll incorporate it.
I mean, today we went to a session with the DESE in Marlboro on this park assessment. And so I'll do a session for you at some point on that. And the expectations are that the standards and expectations are pushing farther than what the MCAS expectations have been pushing. That, they're basically telling us, kids in kindergarten, the new standards in kindergarten are like what we currently have second graders doing, So they're talking about, kids being college and career ready. So not having to take the acuplacer, but being able to graduate from high school with at least that level of proficiency. So when they go in, they're not taking remedial courses necessarily to the extent that they're having to do with them now. So, and the standards are fewer but deeper. Fewer but deeper. So, we're gonna, by 2014-15, when the test goes from MCAS to PARC, there are a number of things that we have to do next year, from adjusting the kind of question types that we instruct with making sure that the text level is sufficient so that the students are going to be able to answer the questions at the level that they're going to be expected. So it's like all of the little balls that have finally fallen into place after 10 years for us are all back up in the air. So, it's a little scary, but you know what? We'll do what we have to do. But I'll let you know at some point soon what those assessments look like. But I think this comment, this mission statement or this core value statement is huge, because when the visiting team comes and they interview students, they'll interview parents, they'll interview staff, they'll interview Peter and administration, and they really ask the same kind of questions about everyone, and they're constantly looking for what is the evidence that all of those groups really know that this, that this drives what's going on in real ways. So it is, Peter's right, it is the heart of, so it isn't easy to get those words just right, the way that you feel represent not only the academic, but the social and civic side of education.
I think it's great. Words matter.
Yeah.
They really
They
do,
do.
and I think we've lost that a lot in many places. Not here. I'm just in general. Words matter.
Carol?
Yes.
I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but did I understand you correctly that the MCAS is going away?
Well, there's going to be continue to be a state test. They're not calling it MCAS, they're calling it PARC.
Okay.
Although there may still be an MCAS in science. And in social studies, they're looking right now at integrating some of the social studies content into the PARC assessment.
So tell me what the acronym PARC stands for.
Partnership for College and Career Readiness.
So is that state driven or is it federal?
It's generated by the federal, so there's a federal standards, but not every state in the country signed on to it or is using the PARC assessments. I think there's 22 states right now that have committed to joining this partnership. And Massachusetts actually has not committed to joining it. They're still studying that, which was what we found out today. We're like, just make your decision, because we can't be trying to figure out, because one of the things that's gonna be huge is not necessarily the standards, but the mode of the test. Now it's all gonna be technology based. So kids are gonna have to be on a computer, they're gonna have to drag and drop, they're gonna have to, it's all technology. So we are gonna have to talk about that, because there's a certain level of minimum technology proficiency that they have to have, and we have to have a certain amount of bandwidth and all of that kind of stuff.
They've been having a lot of trouble
to do it.
nationally.
So
that.
there's a lot to it, but it's just sort of, to me, it's like, well, paper and pencil is hard for some kids. Technology is not necessarily easy for every kid either. So, to me, it's trading one modality for another. But again, we'll talk more about that. So Peter, why don't you go to the next goal, so we
Well,
don't
just
get
to finish this
no,
one up.
that's a good question. That's a
Yeah.
good question.
So where we are now is that we're still trying to get those expectations down. I wanted to, if they're not going to be ready by June 10th, when my next faculty meeting takes place, because they have to be adopted by the faculty, then we'll have to work on them over the summer. But that's kind of my goal. And then next year we'll be totally dedicated to writing those rubrics. This is a student learning goal to increase student learning of high need subgroup by at least 5% on MCAS, ELA, math, and science exams. The new changes to DESE expectations for MCAS require us to raise the proficiency levels of our high need subgroups. We have one high need subgroup. The key action steps would be, as always, analyze the data, see specifically what types of test questions and things like that we need to focus on. We want to train all of our teachers on modifying classroom work for students with special needs. And then we expect teachers will revise and create lessons, units, projects, and assessments, and incorporate the strategies learned, language-based strategies learned from landmark training that's ongoing. And I think I will do this for all of my fellow principals, because this goal is identical on all the school improvement plans.
That's right.
And so this is kind of a
Smart goal.
So I can skip my
yeah.
fourth goal? then?
Yep, you
Oh,
can. It's
okay.
well, it's up to them, but it's exactly the same thing.
Specific,
You'll see this 4
measurable.
times. Right.
Right.
So by this is a 2-year goal. By June 2015, all teachers and administrators will have completed the 5-step evaluation cycle and identified actions within the educator plans to improve professional practice and student learning. That's the new educator evaluation system. We've already begun some of this. I have done a training with my staff last week or 2 weeks ago at our May faculty meeting on writing SMART goals, but that's only part of the process. There is a 5-step process. Writing the SMART goals is part of the self-assessment, and then there's goal setting, there's a development of a plan, there's the observations and evidence gathering, and there is a mid-cycle evaluation and a summative evaluation. So all of that stuff is going to begin next September. We are working hard as a leadership team and a district. There's a district committee that's going over this process, ironing out all the details. You guys have already been involved in negotiating some of the language with the Education Association. We are analyzing software to, this is going to be not a totally, but we hope a very paperless process when we go through this. So there's a lot to do, and there's a lot going on, and we hope that we'll be in a really good position by June 2015. That's it.
Peter, is this impacting your school climate in any way, would you say?
Honestly, yeah, it is. There's a lot of anxiety, I think, and I think that the more people learn about it, and we're trying to get that message to them and have dialogue with them, I think it eases their fears. I have anxiety. I mean, I'm going from having to.
Be contagious.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
To me, it seems
Yeah.
like it's
Well, it's a
just
lot of
this-
information to
Yeah.
swallow.
A lot of
and it's-
information, it's a lot of change, and I'm just wondering if there's a
In the
perception
volume.
of what's needed to make it. I mean, to me, it seems that if teachers feel that attacked by this in any way, which I can only say I've worked in districts where I could imagine this happened. I haven't
Yeah.
ever worked in Georgetown, I'm not, but just human nature is, oh wait, I've been teaching for 15 years and now you're changing the whole game on me, and what's wrong with the way I've been doing it? Oh, and by the way, I work in a pretty decent school where my kids are all, so I can imagine the kind of resistance or pushback you might be getting, and I'm just wondering, is there something that you feel you need that in some way we could support this process that would make a difference? I don't know what that
I
might be.
haven't come across any resistance at all.
Neither have
I think we have a great working relationship with the Teachers Association, and I think we're working together to educate
purpose of this committee.
and to iron out all of the procedures and issues that may come on. I think what's perfectly clear, it's an ongoing process. So once we go through it for 1 year, we're gonna have new ideas and new ways to do things. And the document that you guys approved reflects that, because it's a 1-year agreement. So you'll be back at the table. But
But as the teachers have been getting information, and we've been rolling it out little by slow, there's a sense of relief that they understand that most of the things that we'll be looking at and we'll be working together on, they feel comfortable that they already do. So it's more of allaying the fears of what you don't know.
I think
And it's a very complicated, thorough document, so we're able to simplify it a little bit, and people have been great.
And there's one thing that I brought in to the district that I got in I don't know what an institute that I was in. The curriculum director at Belmont Public Schools did a crosswalk between what we currently have, John Saffey as Principles of Effective Teaching, and the new teacher rubric, and it's almost identical.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're reinventing what we're gonna, the standards that we judge our educators with. They're very close.
But it is scary for them because they've never been rated. Now there's an actual rating.
Right.
Right.
So there, but I think that, at least from the, judging from the committee that we're working with, the sense that, like yesterday, when we met with them, they were, well, this is gonna be, this is gonna be better than what we currently have. And part of the goal of having double the number of teachers compared to administrators on the committee is because one of the things the teachers can do and help with, and it's a combination of veteran teachers and new teachers. We were very careful to make sure that there was a balance, is that they're gonna inform us as to what they feel they need.
Oh, that's
Right?
great.
So that they'll have the opportunity to, they're asking questions, and they're actually interested in, we're gonna have a couple of days work sessions this summer to set up the actual trainings next year that all of the principals will do in their buildings. And this group wants to help with the training. They wanna help prepare the documents, and they wanna help deliver the training. So it's different for people to have the opportunity to be part of it, and for them to be working with their peers.
So this is a committee that teachers are serving on in addition to their teaching.
It's in that negotiated agreement,
Right.
which is, we call it the Teacher Evaluation Advisory Committee.
Sure.
And it's purposely designed to have multiple voices. And their goal in working with us is for them to understand the process better, but also for them to be high users, high implementers, people who know the process well enough to be able to be resources for their
colleagues,
teachers and their
for their
colleagues in their
teachers.
school.
Absolutely. So that's just, I sometimes think that maybe the public, certain members of the public aren't fully aware of
Oh,
how
sure.
complex a teacher's
Oh.
job is,
Oh,
and that it's
absolutely.
not just time in the classroom, but it's time spent on these
Oh, absolutely.
things and dealing with these kinds of changes that make the jobs
Yeah,
just
yeah.
so complex,
Right.
and there's
Yeah.
so many things. So-
It's not the same as it once was,
Absolutely.
definitely the conditions have changed.
Absolutely.
Right, and change is never, some people are so resistant
Yeah,
to
it's-
change, but
it's just
I'm glad to hear though that you haven't had any resistance, and
We have
it
great-
seems like
we
you
have-
guys have great relationships anyways with the
Right.
teachers, so just so that they know that it's not being implemented because we wanna say
No.
some's doing something wrong.
Well, it
It's-
starts
But
from an
it
assumption.
supports excellence in
Exactly,
teaching and
right.
helps develop anyone who needs direction
was
in
the
that way.
assumption?
It starts from an assumption of, we have teachers who are dedicated and skilled and talented. What we're trying to do is keep it from becoming driven by fear,
absolutely.
because our teachers aren't gonna end up in an unsatisfactory situation very often, if ever, right? So when we look at those rubrics, we wanna look at what is the proficiency?
Yes.
And so that's what we want everybody striving toward, and we want to be able to help people. And the other thing about this process that's, I think, pretty cool is it's not just the principal coming in, doing the evaluation, saying, this is what I saw, check the box, you're good for 2 years. This is the teacher and the principal really looking at and examining practice and having good, real conversations about teaching and learning, and sharing ideas and pushing each other's thinking. And the teachers are responsible for providing some evidence and artifacts of what they think, definitely demonstrates
how well
it.
they're
And the principals, are learning how to ask open-ended questions, and instead of, being so judgmental necessarily, but, really getting at the heart of the matter. And it's about professional growth. It's not about gotcha. It's not about personnel actions, although certainly there's a process for that.
Absolutely.
But before somebody gets there, there's a whole lot of supports that are in place to support the person, mentoring, support teams, district commitment of funds to, give additional training. So it really, it just can't be driven by fear. It's got to be driven by the intentionality of it, which is, let's just keep talking about professional practice. It's the number one thing we're doing in our schools, is to have great teaching and learning happening for our students every single day.
And we're all in it together,
And we're
even
all
you
in it
guys,
together.
because it's not just for teachers, it's for principals, it's for superintendents, so you guys have to learn a new process too, and learn how to use the
Right.
software.
Yes, you do.
He's laughing.
He likes to share the pain.
Yeah, misery loves company.
No, I think we all love
We're
to
all
grow
building-
at some level. That's what drives
We're all
human beings.
trying-
We love
that's
to
right.
grow,
I
and
love
when we're not afraid of it, we just embrace it.
Yeah.
We're
Building excellence together.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Peter.
Okay?
Yes, thank you.
Can you be my technical
Yeah, I
advisor
will.
on this?
Yeah.
So you will see some similarity, in the interest of consistency, you'll see some similarities in the design of the PowerPoint. You may even see some similarities in our goals as we go through it, so if you don't mind. So our first goal on the school improvement plan is to look at the latest technology. We're technologically starved at the middle school level.
Fair statement.
Fair statement. So, we may get lucky in a couple of years with the transition to the new Pembroke, and we may receive some of their technology if we're really nice. In the meantime, we want to make sure that students will be able to access the appropriate learning through use of technology and to further develop their 21st century skills. So the key action steps, we're looking to establish a school-based technology committee for next year that will provide some recommendations to both yourselves and the superintendent. They'll also hopefully conduct some research on the latest educational technologies and what's most effective for students at our level. At the current time, we're working very closely with the MIS director, Kyle, to refurbish some older computers. They were sitting, when they replaced and enhanced the computers in the classrooms this year, they were kind of sitting in a pile, and I approached them and said, is there any way that we can use these at the beginning for the learning centers and the areas that service students with special needs to at least do word processing and potentially upgrade them to do some internet research. So we now have, I think he's on number 6. So we have 2 classrooms outfitted, and he's been able to refurbish these at basically no cost.
Wow.
And put them right in, so. And that's been helpful right off the bat, even with, many students have difficulty putting pen to paper. But you put them on a computer or a word processor, and the information just flows, and we're seeing a lot of success with students who struggle with that. So it was kind of a low-cost initiative to take care of that, and we will continue to do that. So on goal number 2, to develop curriculum alignment by content and develop assessments that support grade level expectations. Again, Peter spoke about the new Common Core and the mass frameworks, which will be in place by 2014. We have a nice initiative this year, working with Julie DeRoche. The ELA teachers at the middle school are involved in a vertical teaming committee, chaired by Julie. And we do believe that there's an urgent need to develop these teams in other core academic areas. The ELA teachers are thrilled to be able to do this. They are aligning curriculum, they're researching assessments. We're looking to do possibly quarterly assessments to determine student progress throughout the year. They're aligning lessons, units, and we're also looking at taking the findings and the new things that they develop and having some more training so that they can place them in the Atlas mapping database so they're available to everyone. The ELA teachers in the middle school that are involved in this vertical teaming committee are raving about it. And they're staying after on their own time, and they're doing it, and they're working, again, with Julie DeRoche, and they're making huge strides to align the curriculum across, horizontal and vertical levels. So 6th, 7th, and 8th grade are all collaborating together.
But
That's great.
it's a K through 12.
Correct.
Yeah.
I just have a quick question. I'm trying to understand all the technology here, and the Atlas mapping database. Is there any area of that provides for student assessment, or is it's just curriculum?
I believe it's,
We have the capacity to contain our assessments within that system.
So it does include
So it
some
does
form
include
of some
assessment.
type of student assessment. Okay, thank you.
You are, in doing that, you identify all the assessments
Right.
that you use.
Okay.
And the benchmarks.
in your, just to go, you don't have to go back to number 2, but just as a point of information, you'll notice in the original school improvement plan that you had, under goal 2, we also had an advisor-advisee goal. With your permission, I'd like to move that to goal 3 because I think it's more appropriate under a character education and social and emotional needs goal. So that's the way it's presented here. This year in particular, this being my second year here, we noticed and the teachers discussed that we faced several challenges with our students, both socially and emotionally. We're always looking at bullying and updating the bullying policies and making sure preventions are in place. But there's other trends out there. There's cyberbullying. There's self-injurious behaviors. There's high-risk behaviors, including at this level, which used to be exclusive to high school, drugs and alcohol and relationship issues. So right now in place we have TAT meetings, which are teacher assistant teams. And we'll meet to, keep updated on the specific trends and the issues that are affecting our students. We talk about not only academics, but social and emotional issues. Obviously in a private context, but trying to identify what we can do to help students. And as Peter said at the high school, it's a formal meeting. And but it's not formalized specifically so that everyone knows what we're about and what we're doing. So one of the main goals for next year, and again, it's a 2-year program, is to develop an advisor-advisee program. And I'll just read what it says, so that all staff members can establish close working relationships with students. And so most importantly, that no students become anonymous. At the middle school level, it's a bit of a horse of a different color at times than the high school. There are a lot of similarities in when you're looking at advisor-advisee programs from the high school to the middle school level. At the middle school level, I think we try to focus, although we focus on academic issues, and advisors would assist with academic issues, we want kids to have a safe person that they trust to go to, so that they have a voice. An adult advocate within the school that they meet with on a regular basis. A goal would be that the average adult would be a trained adult. We would all go through a training for an advisor program, and they'd have 10 to 20 students, and they would meet with those students from 20 to 30 minutes, preferably on a weekly basis, just to touch in, to promote positive social interactions with each other. And really what it comes down to, you talk about school climate and culture, when everybody has someone, a go-to person, and they feel safe with that person, and they feel that person's a real advocate and it's consistent, it promotes a positive school climate. People feel connected, and we think it's really important. In fact, Carol and I had a conversation, and she had addressed the advisor-advisee issue, and I took the time to do a little more research on it, and she's absolutely right. I mean, it's the wave of the future, and it's so simple that it's scary. I don't know that it's all that simple to implement, and I'm sure we'll hit some roadblocks, but it's all about relationships.
And how can you ensure that the advisor is not only the appropriate advisor for that student, but that the advisor is a good advisor, whatever the hell that means?
Yeah, I know.
I get what you're saying.
Well, I think it's all in how you roll it out and how you establish it. I think that people need to understand what the goals are for the advisor program. People need to be on board with its importance and realize what the vision is. And I think we all need to be trained in the same manner, so that we present as a unified front, and this is what we're about, and this is something we believe is important and essential in order for it to work. Individual cases, I guess.
It can be team building activities. It can be, discussing certain things that have to do with you know, the way things happen in the school, getting kids' ideas on things. It's not necessarily like a counseling kind of
No.
thing. It's just giving everybody the opportunity to be part of the culture.
But would it be coordinated through the guidance counselor?
No.
No, no.
Okay.
Guidance counselor would be an advisor just like anyone else.
Okay.
So,
Is the intent then that every adult in the middle school would have a group of students?
yes.
Every adult would be an advisor
That's generally how it works.
in the school.
Yeah.
The
And
goal
then-
would be that on a weekly basis, there would be some type of a shutdown, a period of time where we all shut down and break up into our advisee groups. And you can design them any way you like. You could have a school-wide topic that you discuss. You could have an academic block. You can do a bunch of different things. You can coordinate that, whatever the needs of the school are, you
And
know.
have you already begun to research programs that are in place in other schools, that models?
I've been poking around. I had to get a general sense.
Some information.
Yeah, no, to be perfectly honest, before I started doing individual schools, I wanted to get a better understanding of what these programs were and what they were about. So I've been researching some of the national programs and the research and the data that they're providing. Because there's also programs out there that if they're not done effectively and they're not implemented with the proper training,
Right.
they're not good.
Right.
And they can be more destructive.
Well, and
So,
somebody needs to really understand who is meeting with who and who's connecting with who, you know, so
Right.
that if a parent wants to come into the administration because their child is having some social difficulties that they want to discuss and, you know, if they're serious, you know, that they would know who to go to and that person would know who the advisor is and
Yeah, I
Some
don't
access,
think
no?
it's quite the way you're thinking of it, Barbie. Pam. I think probably what we should do is let him do his plan,
sorry.
and then we will do a separate meeting when he gets more information, because it's, the
We're in the
advisor
research
advisee,
stage.
isn't it designed to replace the protocol or process that you would normally go through, which
Right.
would be if you need to talk to the guidance counselor, they're specially
That's why I was
trained
thinking
with those
about
kind of
the
issues.
guidance counselor,
This
yeah.
advisor advisee is really more, you know, it's kind of like at the elementary school, we do responsive classroom, right? So we don't necessarily, you know, so the teacher's very involved daily in building community, you know, talking about themes that are important, talking about how kids are feeling, talking about how we are, how do we behave with one another, you know, making sure everybody gets to shake everybody's hand every day so that they're known. That's the concept. That's the
Right.
goal.
It's
And there are-
it's very similar, excuse me,
Yep.
to, we have a peer model in place already. We
Right.
have for a long time in both the schools.
Yeah, they have peer mentors.
We have peer mentors. So it's just like that, but with adults.
So I asked Brian to also go out on, one of the things that's nice in this region is we have these listservs of like people. So like I get on the superintendent's listserv. If I have a question about something's being done, you know, and all kinds of superintendents across the state will email back saying, oh yeah, I do this or whatever, or here's a resource for you. They also have that as principals.
Yeah, we have a principals
So,
roundtable monthly.
You know,
so-
Brian's done that before, sent something out and gotten some really good answers. So I think that's why it's a goal.
Yeah.
Because it really is gonna take a year of careful study and
Absolutely.
trying some things and looking at what other places do.
It's
and-
funny you brought that up because I sent out some information to the principals roundtable. We have you call it a listserv? I call it an email list, either one.
Yeah. Same.
But I sent it out and I said, you know, I'm in the process of researching advisor advisee programs, and there's a lot of good information about what makes a good one, but I'm interested in if anyone can speak to the pitfalls, you know, so that we try to avoid. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. If someone has a good program in Marblehead,
Right, it's interesting.
they'll allow
know
me to steal it,
what's
and we do the
working
same
somewhere
thing. We share
versus
information.
what's not working somewhere. You want to avoid other people's mistakes.
Right, but I certainly don't want to jump in and just throw a name on a program without having the proper meat behind it.
Right.
So I do
So,
think that is a
it'll
good
be a
idea.
process.
Once you have it,
Yeah, we'll come back
more
and
of it,
we'll.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're going to work on it over the summer as well, so.
Okay, just as-
Yep.
Brian, I support the idea, the concept of what this is
Yep.
all about.
Yep.
So I just wanted
Yeah,
to
I think,
clear that
I
up.
mean, one of the big problems at a junior high school or a middle school, and I would imagine at a high school, is anonymity. People can fall, even in a small school,
even in
people
a
can
small
fall.
school.
You have those kids who are just kind of quiet and do the drill, and they make their way through, and maybe 9 people know who they are, because they just do what they're supposed to do, and, you know.
Well, and they may be consciously trying to be invisible.
Well,
and
at
that's-
middle school, that is the goal, by the way.
Fly under the radar to make
Yeah, I
sure
mean,
nobody
the
knows
average-
what
Because
you're
their
doing,
self-esteem
so
is
you
very
can
low and they
try
don't
whatever
want to
you
be
want.
noticed.
The average kid in
And-
middle school does not want to be noticed, you know, so it's,
I mean, right,
we've all been there.
just referring to extreme cases.
One of the questions that I do have, you had mentioned, you know, like, in high school, it's more of a problem, like drugs and alcohol. Peter, do you see a change in, like, the bullying in your school? Like, do you see it lessen? Because I'm hoping that the kids maybe get it out of their system. And, because I've heard
Yeah,
that they've said,
the
oh,
data will show you that as you get older and you get in high school, bullying goes way down. But what's unclear is, does bullying really go down, or that's just not reported anymore in high school? Most of the bullying we see is not done in school. It's done over the internet, social networking, at night. And of course, with the new bullying laws, we have some jurisdiction if it carries into school. I can tell you that after the new bullying law went into place and things like that, it's kind of gone down.
that's good.
Yeah, I think the new bullying laws have been effective somewhat.
And I think where we often fall off is people don't have a clear definition of what bullying is.
Right.
So when new laws come out and people read them and they sign off on them, you'll have instances as a principal where a kid will come in and say, I'm being bullied, and he may or may not have just accidentally been bumped in the hallway. And, you know, you have to explain over and over again. So I think we can always do a better job of explaining what actual bullying is as opposed to teasing or a conflict.
I mean, all need to be addressed.
Right.
All need to be dealt with.
Right.
But it's not, if it's not consistent with what the law says we have to do.
right.
I think sometimes we do have parents who will come and say, well, you're not following the law. Well, because we probably have a difference of opinion as to what
How the
it
definition
is,
of bullying is.
right, right.
It's a big
So
concern,
we're
yeah.
gonna work with you and we're gonna deal with it because it's causing your child anxiety and it can't. But let's talk about the issue and try to solve the issue rather than worry about whether it's a procedural
Yeah.
issue or not, you know? So it's just helping frame the argument without giving anybody the impression that you're not listening or that you don't care or that it is, you know, does it matter if it's bullying or not? It's not, what is happening has to stop. That's where we have to get to. Okay.
Just one more question.
Sure.
With regards to the social, this whole goal and social and emotional needs, are you continuing to pull in the vocabulary and approach of Kiev?
Yes,
I mean-
I will tell you that it's
On a
better at
daily-
some levels than others,
Okay.
and it's a concern.
That's-
So
it
we're
has so much to offer.
yeah, so we're talking now about how we need to decide if we're going to incorporate it fully and it's embedded in our culture, or if we're going to go in a different direction. And to be perfectly honest, some levels are better than others.
Right.
Some grade levels at implementing it and making it become embedded and making it, so it's a struggle, but we don't want it to get to the point that it's just a field trip. It needs to
Right.
mean something all year.
Right.
And I think it does in pockets, but there needs to be, as a
how you
group and as
do
a school, we have to decide pretty quickly.
And if you don't, then
If-
what would take its place?
Right, exactly.
Because you need some. you
And I
need-
think
you need a-
we're bound to always have to look at things that may have run their course and is there something
Right,
better?
right.
And So it's something that we're
Discuss
cognizant of. Yeah, good question.
Okay, and your fourth goal is the same as Peter's?
The fourth goal is the same as Peter's. We also did the May staff training and implemented the SMART goals, and it was very well received. And didn't bury people with too much information, but we allowed ourselves to do some exercises to walk through the development of a SMART goal. Teachers were thrilled to know that there would be some summertime opportunities available for further training, and seemed as though they were going to take advantage of that on their own time. So they're certainly willing, ready, and able to help us implement the program. If there's no, are there any further questions on it? If not, just before I forget, on a side note, the middle school is in collaboration with the Red Sox now. We have an incentive to encourage the students to read over the summer, which is always a struggle. So we have a program. They sent us 1 million posters and handouts, and students can go online and register. And it's students and educators reading together. So students can fill out a form where they pledge to read a certain amount of books over the summer, and they're entered in a contest to win Red Sox tickets. And they can also nominate an educator that they find to be a great teacher, or, you know, it could be anyone. It could be one of the lunch ladies or a custodian. And if that educator's name is picked as a winner, both the educator and the students get tickets, and I think they get to go together to the game, which is a fabulous idea, you know, and
So where do we find, is it on our website?
so it's not on the website yet, because I just got the information 2 days
That's
ago.
great.
But I will, I'll be putting it up on the website. Cheryl will be putting it in the Daily Bulletin. There'll be posters up all around the school. There's a website link that the kids can go to directly. And we'll be handing out forms for them to fill out if they choose to do so. The teachers each have a packet of forms.
Okay.
And I can get more if I'll give John Henry a call on his boat. No. Like I have
Great,
that
you know,
kind of
that's-
pull, so.
That's a great incentive for
Yeah,
them.
so maybe it'll
Yeah.
keep them
Yeah,
occupied.
That sounds very
over the summer.
exciting, right.
So you do need
Okay.
to take a vote to
Yes.
approve them.
So the chair will entertain a motion to approve the Georgetown High School Improvement Plan for 2013-2014, as well as the Georgetown Middle High School Improvement Plan for 2013-2014, as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All
I
in
think you
favor?
just did the middle high school twice, though. You might want to break them
Oh,
up.
did I do middle high school? Did I say middle high school?
You said middle high school.
Middle
and the-
and high school, you probably need to say.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't say that? I
just so
thought-
no one gets
Okay.
confused.
So the middle high school,
No,
Right.
The middle
The
school.
middle-
middle, oh, okay.
There you
The
go.
mid-
separate
Right,
plan.
You did the whole
Okay.
GMHS thing.
right, I'm used to that, okay.
Yeah.
So
Yes, I know.
the middle school improvement plan for 2013-2014, as well as the Georgetown High School improvement plan for 2013-2014 as presented.
So moved.
Good.
Second.
All in favor? Questions?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All set.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience with all our questions.
Okay, so we're gonna move along to the financial report, which is Joan. can help
Just
us.
before you do that, just want to point out 3 things quickly in the information. You have a copy of the poems?
Yes,
from
that was
Heidi's
awesome.
class.
Yes.
I'm so
Thank
glad that we
you.
got those.
Yeah, well, they're great, and I actually was hoping that Bruce would, because Bruce and I have been talking about him writing a story.
Oh,
We do
specifically
have-
just on that?
And we do have a picture that he
I
can put in
gave,
the
I
paper.
gave him
Yes.
that picture, yes, so I was a little bummed today when I opened the
And it
paper,
wasn't in
and
there.
there was only a blurb
I
about
might
it.
have to mention something to
Well, he
Tim
gave me a
McCarthy.
name to call.
Tim McCarthy?
Yeah, you're gonna do that?
that's the editor.
So you'll,
Yeah, the other thing is just these brochures,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just these were phenomenal concerts.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I just, hats off to Laura Laflamme and Anthony Messina.
Yeah.
It's just,
It is.
it's just amazing. And last night I went to the choral one that Laura did, and, you know, I cannot encourage you enough. You know, I know many of you, you know, you're busy at night, you have your own families. But, you know, occasionally, if you don't have the opportunity, just pick one of these to try to go to, because I think it's a great way to really get a flavor for it. And lastly, there was this email in here, did you all read this? On the full day, they're writing to school committee members, and this particular person, I think it's a senator, is looking for support to see if committees want to sign on to writing a letter of support to encourage the legislators to support these full-day kindergarten. I mean, you know, we have full-day kindergarten free for all, which honestly is unique, right, Joan?
Correct.
And not as financially lucrative as some other districts, but it's the right thing and the best thing to do, so we do it the way we do it. But we do use this full-day kindergarten grant to fund a paraprofessional for each of our kindergartens. We don't have that money in the budget if this money doesn't exist. So it really is, it would be, maybe somebody from the committee be willing to draft, a letter and, on behalf of the committee and send it out. That's what this is encouraging. So I just, it's in here for your information. If the committee wants to, do something to take a stand, then certainly you can. But it's really, for me, for my purposes, it's information. I just wanted you to know that it exists.
Right.
Okay? Now you can do the financial.
Thank you.
Okay, so you all have a copy of the audit of the end-of-year financial report. And so when we talk about audits, I just want people to understand it's not a financial audit. It's a compliance audit to make sure that we are following the structure and the regulations issued by the Department of Education on how we report our expenditures and our revenues for, well, we do it for each year, so for our end-of-year FY12. And so the auditors came out the report was filed in September, and the auditors came out in March. If you see on the page 2 and 3 were the findings, and I just can quickly go over them with you. The first finding, I went back and pulled out, as this is my first end-of-year report I did for Georgetown, I went back and pulled out a couple of the last previous audits. Finding number 1 was finding for the past couple of years. But while the auditor was in, I couldn't quite understand what he was looking for with written policies and procedures related to classification of salaries and expenses. But when I showed him our budget document for this year, and if you remember at the end of the book, at the last 2 tabs, we actually did a breakdown of our account structure and how we determine what the object and the account number is linked to the Department of Education's chart of accounts. So he said, as long as we have that same thing in place, that finding will go away because that's what they are looking for. How do you decide what account to charge people to? How do you decide to charge, library to library? Where is it written that you have that? And that was just something that I had always worked with. So we developed it into our budget this year, so that finding will most certainly go away. On the next section, finding 2, and I will say the same thing about finding 5. As you can see, I misreported information to the wrong lines. I've made amendments for all of them, so all of that was corrected before they did the net school spending figures that they did in late April. So I was explaining to Barbie today, when I got here, you have a lot of revolving accounts and a lot of gift and donation accounts and GEF accounts and things I had not been familiar with. And I reported them as I thought they were intended to be reported. And I also used the previous end-of-year report when I did it. Well, what I failed to do when I used the end-of-the-year report from last year was to go back and see if there were amendments on last year's end-of-year report. So I went by the way it was done. Well, I did over 100 amendments to my report. Jim did about 60 amendments to his report. So a lot of these he had incorrect too. And now he wasn't familiar with Georgetown when he came. And you have a lot of very different kinds of accounts. I had never heard of fee-based in my life. Donation accounts, GEF. So they're looked at very differently from the Department of Ed. So, and the same with some of our grants. So finding 2 and finding 5 will be hopefully non-existent next year. I went back and I took all my amendments. And typically when you make an amendment on the state website, you just say increase this line, decrease this line. You really can't tell what the line is. So I went back and changed my spreadsheet after I did all the amendments so that I have a working document, clean document now that I know where, for example, the $200 yellow school bus grant is supposed to go. It's a mass cultural grant. I put it as a private grant. Well, it's a state grant.
Right,
I
because
had no
that
idea.
dollar amount you would think would be just
A private little grant, and somebody gave money, and we used a school bus to go on a field trip. Well, apparently, mass cultural something. It's a state. It's considered a state grant, even though it doesn't come through the regular state way. So those are those. Finding number 3, I went back and this has been an issue on the last few audits. And this is a number that comes over from the town side, so I really need to get my arms around it. I think it's an Essex Aggie assessment that doesn't need to be reported. We're only supposed to report Whittier Tech. Essex Aggie doesn't get reported in the same way on the school side. It's probably something different on the town side, but again, I need to talk to the auditor and Mike Farrell to say, or to the accountant to say, like, this needs to go somewhere, but apparently I don't have it in the right place. Finding number 4 is my haunt from last year, and it was on my list of goals to get accomplished this year. I didn't. I met with Mike Farrell once. This is to put to writing and get school committee approval and the Board of Selectmen approval on the way we allocate town expenses for the school district. So in other words, a percentage of the treasurer's office is counted toward our expenses and our net school spending. A portion of the DPW or highway department here, snow and ice removal, those kind of things. And although the methodology is fine, we don't have the document signed by the school committee and signed by the Board of Selectmen. So I have like 5 different samples. It's, it's incumbent on me now to get this done. So if I could get this done in the next couple of months, then next year when I do the end of the year report, that finding will go away. It's very common. Most cities and towns have it.
It is, and a lot of reasons why towns don't have it is trust.
Right.
Is trust. But we have a really good trusting relationship that we've built with the town, and I think we all feel very confident in, what would be fair and right, and an expense that really should be counted in this way.
Right.
But, in some towns, because it isn't a great working relationship, there's a lot of trepidation about signing something that is going to be an agreement that is going to be utilized. So we don't have that. So I think we're all very comfortable, getting something in writing. It would come before the committee as well, and you'd have to vote on it, as Joan said. Great.
Okay, so we go to finding 6. It's similar to the first finding, which states that we have to take district special ed costs and allocate them according to age group and IEP type. So it's easy if the expenses at Pearly School, it's easy because you get your age group there, and there's only certain prototypes that could be at the Pearly School. But when you get into director's salary, the secretary's salary, the psychologist's salary, it's used across the district, you really need to have a methodology of how you allocate the money. I took it by number of kids in each category and divided it because I couldn't figure out another way to do it.
Well, you didn't know the system very
Right.
well either, so you don't know where somebody
Right.
spends the majority of their time.
They didn't really like that, so that's something I need to work on with probably with the auditors and try to get more zero in more to how much time could someone tell me how much time, if you had to look at Donna Straight's salary, a bulk of her salary or her time is probably spent on the out of district kids more than the 3 to 5 year olds. So it's something that I need to work on with the auditors, and perhaps it's just for special ed, so with Donna as well. And the last one, quite honestly, was a typo. I have no excuse for it. I have to give all the backup to all the auditors, and they said, we can't figure out why you put it 7 when it should have been 11. And when you look at my documents, you're right, I have no idea, so. But, these are findings that I'm not worried about. Last year we had 9 findings. The year prior to that, we had 14 findings.
yeah.
So, I mean, we're
moving in the right direction.
yeah, and I feel confident now that,
Only one is really recurring, right?
Right.
Right.
So-
Which is the,
Well, 2 hopefully will go.
yeah, they'll go away, right? And I really feel now that I helped build the budget, that I understand, what these accounts really are, not so much your appropriated monies, but the revolving accounts and the gift accounts. It was, it was foreign to me when I came with the different kinds of accounts you have,
Well, we're so fortunate that we have the
You have a lot of
GEF
accounts.
account and the personal
Right.
accounts. I mean,
Right.
yeah.
So I just have to say, I got this and I was like, why is it so nicely bound and everything?
Comes from the
that comes
auditors.
from the auditor.
And
It's
I'm
part of their
thinking that
package price.
They must have much larger books for other school districts, perhaps.
Oh,
Is
yeah,
that-
this is, I mean, it's
Which
not,
is why they bind
it's not
it.
unusual to have a small number of findings.
I was thinking, oh well, we're just
Anytime. I've seen, bindings that are this big, cause there's a lot of findings.
Yeah.
It's good. I was happy
So,
with this, and I
yeah.
appreciate Joan talking to me yesterday about this,
Yeah.
just so I could feel better about it, but
Mhm.
it looks great.
Right. Oh, great, thanks.
Yeah, I think
We all
It will
did
look better.
typos. Yeah.
just when I try to imagine your job, like walking into, that's.
It's hard because I was doing a report for someone else's budget and
Yeah.
someone else had managed it.
And the end of the year report is a bear. I mean, it's not an easy report to do. And when you come into a place and you really don't know all of the ins and outs of it yet, I mean, to have to sit down and do
Yeah.
that report. I mean, we're lucky that we have Julie in the business office, and Julie has a lot of knowledge and understanding of every account and has
she
the
does.
history behind it. So that's obviously very
Right.
helpful for somebody in Joan's position. But it still is not an easy.
And it's much better than it used to be. It's only like maybe about 6 or 7 schedules now. It used to be over 20 schedules that you had to report on. You had to actually, I can remember this from when I worked in special ed, you had to actually go through every team meeting notice and see how many team meetings the nurses went to so you could report the nurses' time. And really, they only use this for statistical information. The financial piece they use to make sure we're meeting our requirements of net school spending and create the foundation budget and everything. But as far as the rest of the information, like the SPED numbers, I think it's reports the state has to give the federal government because we get all the money, but it's just statistics. And it would take months to do the end of the year report.
And the end of the year report structure isn't always doesn't easily talk to our chart of accounts.
No, it doesn't at
so
all.
Joan, in order for her to do it, she has to create her own crosswalk.
Correct.
Right. So whereas if you remember, those of you who were on when Jim did it, remember Jim reclassified everything into those major categories because
Right.
that was his rationale behind it was that it then clustered into talked the same language. But then the problem was for your day-to-day operation of the budget and using it then you couldn't remember where certain money was. So what we're doing now, even though it does require Joan to do a little bit more of a crosswalk, I think it works the best.
Right,
It works the
I
best.
created the crosswalk last year, and in my previous job, I created the crosswalk once, and it took a
Right.
long time to create it, but once you create it, I just
You've got
download
it.
the information from Munis, and it feeds right into it, so it's
Right.
really not as cumbersome next time.
Right.
So it's worth the work
It's
that you have to
worth the
do.
work.
to make it the
And from
initial.
my opinion, the budget we have to work with that we just developed and passed is so much easier to manage on a day-to-day basis, which is the most important piece. I
Right.
mean, the end of the year report is important, but the most important piece is to really know where all our money is and
Right.
where it's spent, so.
Yep, thank you. All right.
Thank you.
So I did bypass the superintendent's information for the committee. I know you pointed out those. But does anybody else have any questions about that? What was in the?
Thank you.
Okay.
Business.
Are we gonna do subcommittee reports?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Subcommittee reports. Budget and finance, Rob's not here. I don't know, has anyone got a chance to meet
We haven't,
under
no,
new?
I don't even know if any of the,
I'm on it.
right, we haven't
Has any of
had,
the meetings with?
no, not yet.
Met, okay.
Well, actually,
Say-
public relations.
Public
we-
relations,
yes.
but, yep.
We met.
Today?
Yesterday.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
that go?
district.
And we, the purpose of the Public Relations Committee is to provide timely, consistent, and accurate information to the public. And Alana is new to the committee, so we just kind of reviewed the history of what we had been doing and the direction we were taking. And let's see, we discussed possibility of maybe coming up with a one-page public relations plan for the district, if that might make sense. We're talking about goals going forward, and keeping in mind that the website is an ever-changing, kind of a live thing. We'll always need looking at, and then email marketing and social media marketing.
I just want to
consider
question what
that.
you said about the purpose of the committee.
Oh, sure, yes.
Because you said the purpose is to provide the public, and I thought that the purpose of the committee is to advise the schools about the communication that to the public, about how well we're doing.
I think it's both.
Right.
I think it's.
I guess this is kind of what I said is more the
Yeah.
purpose of public relations, period.
Right,
Versus-
and I'm not sure that we are the ones who are charged
Right.
with making sure that the public knows what's going on in the schools, and I want to make
Well-
sure that the public doesn't see us as
Always the information
the
feeders.
information feeders, because I certainly am not up to that job.
I think that what was interesting about the conversation yesterday was that there's sort of several arms, but one of the, there's the need to give information, right? And the district has a responsibility to do that. It's not the school committee's responsibility necessarily to do, but you know, the participation that you have in the process, not only through the committee, but through your discussions here, you know, give us information and feedback as to things that we might need to do a better job, perhaps, getting information to the public. But the shift in thinking was, so you might do the website, you might do email marketing, you might do a brochure. That's one way to give information to the public about the schools. But then there's this other situation that we talked about yesterday, which is before we even create this public relations plan, we sort of have to have a sense of what the need is.
Right, what the public
What
wants.
what is the need? So who needs what information? Who needs to know what processes need to be followed? How do questions get raised? What are all of the methods, and how do we communicate to people that we're open and interested, and you know, that there's ways that
Yeah,
we
we wanna
really
listen,
wanna
we wanna-
listen.
And-
Right.
Right.
So it's just, you know,
outreach with
before we do the
information, but
plan,
we
we
wanna
sort of have to figure out, well,
invite
like,
two-way
what do we
dialogue.
need to be doing? What, you know, and so we were discussing what are ways, we
I was
didn't
gonna
get
say, so
very
how
far
are you
on
gonna
this.
do that?
But we didn't get very far on that,
Okay.
because I had to go and run the evaluation meeting. So we started to say, that's our sort of our next conversation is, well, what are the ways that we might, you know,
Yeah.
do we run focus groups? Do we do a quick survey? You know, what do we do? How do we get at the information?
Have you done an assessment of what you do today?
Well, a communications audit that I believe, you know, would be called.
That's
and
part of what we would.
That,
Okay.
um,
So we haven't, no, that's
No.
probably what the ways we
Right.
get information.
right.
So that's kind of where we were, I think,
So
and
that's
just
right.
identifying the importance of.
And we discussed the possibility of maybe trying to find a college intern.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good idea.
To help
To
out,
help,
since
right.
we don't, as you observed, we don't have any one particular person in the administration who sole duty and responsibility is public relations.
Or who could add that?
Yeah, I mean, that's
I
something
know.
to think
I know,
about for
with
the
all the
future. Once we
things going
identify
on.
what once we sort of put our finger on the need, then we can determine, okay, so now we know what the need is, so how are we gonna
Accomplish
attack it?
that need.
And that's what Pam's talking about.
Right,
How do
I
we
mean,
get
there's-
like a quick plan together that just basically, and then identify how it's gonna get done.
Wait, yeah, 'cause there's-
Focus groups, I bet, would be very interesting.
Mhm.
If you did a
really-
few little focus groups.
It would be, it would be.
Do you think parents would show up?
I was gonna say, it would be, you know.
I do.
They do sometimes.
Yeah, I think they would.
I think the people that are finding it difficult to find the information would be willing to, you know, if they really wanna see things, like you had mentioned before, a lot of the parents that you talked to were saying, you know, you know, how do I get it?
I will say, I was on the website today looking for information,
Mhm.
and it took
Mhm.
me a while.
I was
and
too this evening. I was
I
looking for something too, and I'm like,
was
where is it?
frustrated.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's,
no need to be frustrated.
No,
You
I
just
sent
need
an
to
email
ask
to the
and, you know,
teacher.
it's
I
how we
sent an
learn,
email to the
right?
teacher,
yeah.
cause it was something about band, so I just thought it would be on the website, I
Yeah.
mean, you know,
Mhm.
but
But that's a good
I know,
example.
it
If we
is.
found out, well, what kinds of things are you looking for? And then,
Right.
you know, and if they're not there, then that informs our need to make sure they are there.
right.
Like, for instance, I was
Right.
looking for information on community service and what opportunities are
Oh,
available,
and that's not on
na-
there?
Yes, well, now it is, because
Okay.
we, now there's a lot of information up there.
People asked about it and, you
So
know,
who do you tell that to when you?
you tell me. Or you can do as Barbie said, you can
there's the forms,
email
there's
the, you know, if you're doing it from the perspective of a, you know, of a parent, then you can deal with whoever you want. Right? But, yeah, obviously if it's somebody who can do something about it quickly, you know, then it certainly makes sense
Yeah.
to email
I was
them.
looking for Six Flags information, the kids are going tomorrow, it wasn't on the website, I
Yeah.
just emailed them.
And I
the
would have
Mr.
thought
Messina,
that,
and
I
he
would have
got right back to
expected.
me.
Mhm. And I would have
Which I knew he
expected that
would.
on the website.
Yeah, I thought it would like just drop off time when they'll be home, and he
But
got
you know,
back to me, but I was wondering,
That
why
did,
isn't it
that
on
did
here?
come, that did come in a piece of paper.
No, I know it came in a piece of
But
paper,
that's,
which
but
probably
that's
went
part
in.
of what
But
we,
that's-
that's part of what we did talk about and identified, and Alana, I think, alluded to that just a minute ago, is that there are a lot of things that, you know, we have good intentions to get up there. So we got the information out through the parents who needed it, but there wasn't necessarily the second step to put the content up on the website.
Right.
Because for some people, it's just not second nature. It's a time
Well, that
factor, they
paper
don't
might
necessarily
not have
think
made
of
to
it.
me.
Well, or
Yeah.
the
Miracle
children
it
didn't
did.
get it
Or
to
the
the
children
parent, you know,
didn't
I'll
get it to
find
the
it months in their
parent.
backpack.
But we should
months
have that
later,
stuff
but-
up on the
Yeah.
website,
It
it's
should go
just,
on the
but there's
website,
a,
yeah.
but there's a,
There's nobody
there's-
managing that.
that's-
There's nobody
It's- yeah.
whose specific job it is to constantly check in and say,
Right.
okay, what's happening? How did the parents find out about this? Oh, there was a flyer that went home. How are we dealing with parents who didn't get the flyer?
Yeah.
Right.
Do we put it on the website?
Right.
I
So
think if it's
somebody-
worthy enough of a
Exactly.
flyer, it needs to, and I don't
Exactly.
think it's all that difficult to just scan.
no,
the
but I don't
document.
think it's been,
There's not a
it's been
protocol
clear
or
that there's a
procedure.
process
Who's the
for
person that
Yep,
does it?
Yep,
Okay, well, I'm glad you guys definitely have your,
Good
Work.
discussion.
you know, I
Thank
think
you.
it's a
Thank
lot of
you.
work, but I appreciate you putting the time and effort into it.
Yeah, no, well, it's important to reach out to the community. I mean, you know, we all
Yeah.
work together here.
Right.
So.
Thank you. Okay, well, hopefully the subcommittee, I know we have a meeting planned for negotiating, so hopefully we can all try and meet soon, because it's all different. The subcommittees are all different
Yeah.
now, and it would be
Right.
nice to just get
it's
in
a
there.
transition, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Great.
Old business, we're gonna talk about the appointment of the legislative liaison.
Yes. So as I wrote to you in the orange notes, annually, the school committee, has, discusses, stuff coming up in legislative kind of things. I'll put things in your packet, or I'll try to give you updates, because as I get them through MASS, and you get things through MASC. But I've sort of always served in the capacity, just largely because none of the school committee members have had the time or have necessarily had that interest. But it is an annual appointment, so again, if there's someone on the committee that really loves to follow the legislative trends, it would really be somebody who would just bring information to the committee if it was something that you felt they needed. Or I'm happy to continue to do it. It is an annual appointment, so it's for discussion purposes. And then you need to appoint somebody.
Anybody interested in taking that on, or? I think it's
Not
great that
for
you've
this
offered to
year,
do it
but I
again.
appreciate
Well, I mean,
you.
the stuff comes to me all the
Maybe
time,
another
but,
year.
but some school committees, get pretty involved at the, school committee, state kind of level, and they get on different committees, and, some committees are more interested in that, and other committees, kind of feel like they have enough work just to manage the participation on the local committee. But
I would love to. It sounds very interesting. And I did just call Mask the other day
Mm-hmm.
inquiring about medical marijuana use in schools. And they are actively working on a policy
Yeah.
with that. And they explained that the DPH is coming out with regulations on prescriptions for youth. And it was interesting, very
Yeah.
interesting. But this year I'm going to be doing something else that we're going to discuss next. I mean, if
okay,
that's acceptable.
so if you,
Yeah,
if you want, I'm happy to do it.
okay. All right, so the chair will entertain a motion to appoint Superintendent Carol Jacobs as the legislative liaison to the Georgetown School District.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you
You're welcome.
for taking that on your regular duties.
I have to follow it myself anyway,
Okay, so the next will be the GLEC liaison.
Yes. So as I explained a little again in your orange notes, we are members of the Greater Lawrence Educational Collaborative. And as such, we have a seat on the Board of Directors. Board of Directors meets pretty much monthly. And functions like a Board of Directors. There's, an agenda. The executive director makes a lot of, just like I do, makes presentations. And the board votes, obviously, in the same, on basically the same kinds of things, policy, budget, and there are some personnel things that are within the purview. Collaboratives operate slightly different than municipal school districts. They have a different set of guidelines. But one of the things that changed in the law is the compilation of the board of directors. when I first got on the GLEC board, there were mostly superintendents, but there were some business managers if the superintendent wanted to delegate the responsibility. So it might have been the assistant superintendent for a particular district, you know. So it was made up largely of administrators representing the member districts. When the legislation changed, it said it has to be either school superintendents or a school committee member. And I think I explained, I think I said to you that on the board right now at GLEC, there are mostly school superintendents, but there are two school committee members, one from Newburyport and one from Andover. So it's an annual appointment, and it's up for discussion.
I would like to volunteer to serve. I think it would be very interesting, and I've printed out a little something to tell you more about what GLEC is. It's the mission of the Greater Lawrence Educational Collaborative is to serve member school districts in meeting their unique needs in a changing global community. Collaborative services maximize efficiency, quality, and equity of educational opportunity. So they provide quality programs and services, such as programs for multi-handicapped and medically challenged students, programs for behaviorally disordered and emotionally disturbed students. So they provide high quality programs and special education, high quality programs and services. And I would really like to learn more about these. And I think I have, a little bit of experience that might be a helpful perspective for them. So I would be willing to do that.
Okay. Make a motion. The chair will entertain a motion to, is it nominate?
No, it's to appoint.
Okay, to appoint Pam Lundquist as the GLEC liaison
To the board of directors.
to the Board of Directors for 2013-2014.
Right.
So
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
okay,
Congratulations.
very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
It'll be interesting. I will enjoy it. I will.
Okay, new business. We need to discuss the summer meeting schedule.
Yeah.
We're looking to have 2 meetings in the summer, one mid-July, and usually towards the end of August, right before school
Right,
opens.
right.
So Rob left me the dates that he's not available. So,
I'm not available. I'm going on vacation August 9th through the 16th
okay.
to Orlando.
Okay, well, we'd like to do it as close to the opening of school in August, because that's when we do we'll go to the schools and we'll do the quick tour of all the schools.
And if we do it too early, you're
Yeah.
gonna have to understand that the schools, you're not gonna really get a sense, because this is a short summer
Yeah,
for the custodians, and they may be scrambling, like, right up to the last minute to get everything ready to open.
right. The only problem that I personally have with August is just that Thursday before school opens, which is the 29th of August. I am out of town for just that evening. So I wasn't sure if it had to be a Thursday, if, like that week I'm sure would be better to do the tour of the schools.
Yeah, I don't think it has to be a Thursday.
And, no, okay.
And, I mean, if we have a meeting and this room is not available, then we can meet at Pearlie.
Right.
Okay.
So I just want to say that we, in my family, have not established our August plans.
Okay.
We have a few things up in the air, and we need
Okay.
to wait to see how some other things go in August. But that week before Labor Day was a week that we were away last year, and we've all agreed that that was a very good time for us to be away, and that we might want to go away that week again.
Okay.
So,
So as long as there are 3 people, you can have a
Yeah.
meeting. I mean, obviously, we'd like to have everybody.
Yeah.
right.
But,
So I just
but if you
need
can't
to
get
say, I
3,
can't
we
guarantee-
obviously
yeah.
can't do it.
Even without Laureen's dates, I mean, Rob's back on the 24th.
Okay.
I'm available that week as long as it's not the 29th and you're here. Cause your
Mhm.
vacation's.
Yes.
How do you look for the end of August? Like,
The only thing I have tentatively scheduled is just a couple of days before Labor Day, just
Right.
leading up to that.
how about like the 27th or 28th? That's
What
Tuesday or
day?
Wednesday?
Tuesday or Wednesday?
Yeah, of that week, August 27th or 28th.
Labor Day falls when?
Labor Day, it begins.
second.
Yeah, Labor Day
September
is Monday the
2nd, Monday.
2nd. And
It's a
school
Monday?
opens,
Yeah.
school opens on the 4th.
Yep.
I mean,
Okay.
school, yeah, the
Yeah.
4th.
Yeah,
So I will probably be out of town Thursday, Friday before.
Okay.
Okay, so how about Tuesday or
Tuesday
Wednesday,
or
the
Wednesday.
27th or 28th?
Yeah, that should be fine.
Do you
Sounds
think
good
you
to
could do
me.
that? Because do we have to say now who's gonna do each school?
No,
Or that will go
No,
out later,
no,
the emails? Okay,
no, we can talk about that in July.
okay.
Okay.
So for the July date then, do we wanna do, August 28th, a Wednesday?
August 28th.
for August, for the
Is that
August.
good for you?
Yeah, that should
August
work.
28th? Okay, so I can let Rob know. Okay, and then for mid-July, which that would be when the, staff committee, right? We were talking about,
I think the staff committee it would be the August date.
oh, it
that
would be the August date,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So
But,
mid-July,
We'd
what-
have to do the the end of the year closings and that kind of
There'll be
stuff.
warrants
in August.
In
yeah.
August.
in
Okay.
July.
In July,
Yeah.
but mid would be okay, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
mid-July would be fine.
Okay.
Third week maybe of July.
So third week, that would
What's
be,
the week?
like the week of the, Monday would be the 22nd of July,
Yeah,
22nd to
that would
20th.
The
That would-
following week isn't good for me, but that
Okay.
week.
That
That
would be-
week, we are definitely gone, and
Okay.
I'm gone basically from the 16th until the 28th in July.
Okay.
So,
So how does the 24th or 25th, or we can stay with, July 25th, which is a Thursday?
Yeah, that
That
should
would
be
be,
fine.
that would be better for business office anyways, is that later in the month.
July 25th.
Yeah, the 25th
July
should work, yeah.
25th, okay. And
Should be
Rob's
fine.
thought that he would be, that July looked good for him, so I'll just shoot him an email with those
Oh, well,
two
you're
dates.
gonna have the summer off,
I'll
Alana.
miss the school committee meetings in the summer once again, so sorry.
And we'll just do a 7 PM.
Yeah.
Time, right, okay.
And we can do this room unless it's not available on the 28th on a Wednesday. So
Okay.
Laura, you can try to book those, right? And we'll see what happens.
7:25.
Okay, Laura will try to book them.
Okay,
It might be nice to have them in air conditioning if it's.
yeah.
Get us
What
an air
time would the
conditioned room, that
walkthrough
would be
be?
great.
What time would the walkthrough be of the schools on the 28th?
Usually in the past, we've met at the schools at 6 and then done the walkthroughs and then had a
I mean,
business meeting.
Oh,
And it's
okay.
usually pretty short because
Okay.
there's not a lot.
Now, since I've been on the committee, one person has taken each school.
We've done it different ways.
And
The
you had
first,
said that,
you know,
yeah.
the first few years, we didn't actually have a business meeting. It was really just, we met to really tour the schools. And so what used to happen is we'd all meet at Pearlie, we'd do Pearlie, then we'd all go to Pembroke and we'd do Pembroke, and we all go to the middle school, high school, and we'd do that. But then when we started having a meeting, we decided, so Barbie might say, well, I'm happy to go to Pembroke. And Pam would say, I'm happy to go to Pearlie, and Lorraine said, I'd like to go to the middle high school, and Rob goes to the middle high school too. And then at the meeting, we just schedule time in the agenda to, usually the principals will talk about the readiness of the school and what kinds of things they want to comment on. And then you get a chance to say, I went to Pearlie, and, these were the things that I would want to comment on, and that's how we did it.
Okay.
But it can go whatever way the committee wants it to go.
Okay.
It's really
And we
up-
can discuss that
Maybe you could
as
think
it
about
gets
that for
closer.
July.
Right, okay. So we do have to, vote on the dates for the summer.
Yeah.
Okay. So the chair will entertain a motion to, designate July 25th and August 28th, 2013 for the, summer meeting dates.
So moved.
second,
Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
aye.
Okay. And next, we'll talk about the superintendent and the school committee retreat.
This is something we've never done. And I'm not suggesting that it has to be done. But one of the things that I think is gonna be a challenge is trying to wrap up the school improvement plan, talk about the district, the district improvement plan, and do the end of the year business, and then try to make sure the committee has time to learn about the teacher evaluation, the superintendent's evaluation process, and joint goals that we might develop together, in the fact that you have 2 more meetings, basically. So Mike Gilbert is interested to come and work with the committee. And he did have a couple of dates he wasn't available, which I can certainly get out to the committee. And the thought was, do we want to do something where we go to like offsite to maybe like the MEC Collaborative in Topsfield? They have a very nice spot there. They have a conference rooms, and it's a nice spot. We use it actually for our administrative retreat, and then have Mike go through a workshop with the committee that facilitates that discussion. So if we want to do that, we can do it 1 or 2 days, doesn't matter. Obviously, we're not doing an overnight thing. It's just, what can people carve out a portion of the day and set that up, and then just have it be a work session. I'm just offering it as an option, but obviously it depends on the committee's interest. I just know that we're gonna run out of time if we try to, or you're gonna be meeting till 11 o'clock at night, and
And how soon would this happen, Carol? It sounds like it has to happen pretty soon.
Well, no, I mean, it could happen, I think I have to I'm trying to remember what Mike had said. He said he was pretty open in July and August.
Yeah.
I think the end of June was not good for him. And then maybe there was like the 19th and the 20th of
Exactly.
July or something. That's what's off the top of my head. So, we could, again, determine what might be best for us. It could, of course, you've got your kids at home. See, that's the hard part. Because, it could be during the day. It doesn't have to be an evening. It could be in August, because obviously, like this whole evaluation thing, we're all rolling it out anyway. But it would be nice to, have time in August/September to make sure we start the year with our process and our set of goals that we can all agree on. So if it's not convenient for people in July and it's easier for you in August, I know for myself, the last week in July and the first week in August don't work, because I've got a number of things that I have to take care of. But, certainly in August is fine with me, but I'll work around your schedule. We just have to book Mike, because I don't know what his.
I do think it's a great opportunity to talk with him, and I think it's great that he's willing to do it.
Yep.
I would love to do
I
it.
would love to do it if we
Yeah.
could pull like dates.
Well, so I can throw out dates like the week of July 7th, particularly the 8th, 9th. The 10th is a harder one for me, but 11th and 12th of that week is a week that I'm available
Are you proposing the day or evening?
for daytime.
Yeah.
Okay.
My preference, so that's a week my daughter's in camp, so I'm available during the day. So my
July
preference
7th.
is for the daytime.
Mm-hmm.
If we're, I don't know,
Maybe not July 8th.
not 9 till 5, but
No,
I don't
no,
know
no,
what
no,
we're
no.
talking about.
But again,
Yeah,
it depends on what you want to do. But it could be
Right.
like 9
Whether
to
it's
2.
one
Yeah.
day or 2 days.
Yeah.
So how many hours total are we
I
talking
don't know.
about?
That's why, if we told Mike that we're interested in this, then I could tell Mike what we're interested in, and
Right,
he
and
could
then
say,
we
well,
could
this is
figure
about
out
how
the
much time.
time.
But I don't think you should feel like you have to commit more than 2 days to it. Two would be the maximum,
Yeah.
I think.
Now, Laureen, how are you during the day though? Because
Yeah, because
Robin,
in the
I
summer,
don't
it
know
might
how-
not work.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like I could commit a day to it. 2 days might be tough. I'd have to
Okay.
look at my schedule, but it doesn't have to be in the evening.
No, it'd be
Okay.
the day.
Yeah.
For you, it's
Oh, for
okay.
you,
For
you
you
could-
working.
You could
You
do
could
it.
do
you
a
could
day.
take
Yeah, I
it.
can do a day.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
just
And
not-
again,
not
depending,
the-
maybe it does make sense in some ways to do, if that were the case, and that were the case for one longer day instead of 2
Yeah.
shorter days.
And August, again,
2
like I
shorter
said,
days
like
would be
for
tough
me,
for me.
it's
Yeah.
But one longer day is fine.
August is just hard, just because we've got a lot of balls we're juggling.
Well, that week that you had mentioned that your daughter's in camp works for me. I don't know how it works for you.
It does for me,
Except, did you say
except,
July 8th?
except the 8th, right, got a hockey thing.
What about the 9th? What about Tuesday, July 9th? Could we just say that's a date that works for all of us and,
We could, and then I'll send it
That
to
can be a-
Rob to
that
see
can be
if,
a first choice.
if that could work.
okay?
And would the second choice be the 10th?
Well,
Because you're,
I would prefer the 11th, so I have something on the 10th. I could miss on the 10th, but I would be sad about missing the event I have on the 10th.
The 11th.
I would miss that event for the school, for this meeting, because I think this is an important meeting, but I would be sad about missing it.
Okay,
So-
so why don't we see if Mike can do the July 9th as a first choice
or the 11th.
and
for the
July
second.
11th. Now, do you
then
want
we'll
me
ask
to
Rob.
see if we can book something like that room at Mac? I mean, it doesn't cost anything.
That'd be awesome.
And,
Just to
you know,
be
if people wanted, if we wanted to have lunch come in, I mean, they have a little kitchen area there, we can bring our own lunch, whatever works for people. But, I'll see if we can sign up for the
Great.
space.
Yeah.
And, so we'll.
Okay.
And then I'll get back to people on that. Good,
Okay,
I'm glad
and then
that,
I'll
I'm
send
glad that
those
you're
dates-
interested in it.
I'll send those dates to Rob and see if they work for
Yeah.
him. Okay.
Great. And finally, the head
Okay.
lice policy.
Right, so tell me, so that is, this is it.
This is it.
Okay. We won't be seeing that anymore, okay.
You hopefully will not be seeing.
So this is where we adopt the policy, okay,
Yes.
so we make a motion to, okay. The chair will entertain a motion to adopt policy files JLCDB and JLCDB-E head lice as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Barbie, that's C, 10C. And I think I explained it in the notes that, this discrimination harassment policy, that was an oversight.
Yeah.
We talked about that at length
We did.
during the teacher evaluation process,
Because
but,
they wanted that.
we didn't vote on it. But there was nothing, it wasn't voted on. Laura went back and looked through all the notes. So I think we just have to just go through the process. So
Yeah.
it's just for distribution tonight.
Okay. Okay, that's the
And
end
we do
of
not
the,
need an executive session. That is
Okay.
incorrect.
that's great, okay. So the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Discussion?
Really?
I know.
Don't want to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks.